Hey, it's Tuesday. It's September the 29th. It's the 29th. September 29th, 2020. It's the Giant Bombcast. This is the last Giant Bombcast for September of 2020 ever. Unless,
Thank God.
Unless you guys have a way to go back in time and maybe do another one.
Do.
But,
yeah. No, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that working out?
It's been weird, because I go back and bet on sports games and all the other stuff. And
just about to ask if you had a spare sports almanac you could lend me.
I just find that when I get back to the present time, inflation is such that it all evens out anyway. It doesn't.
Taxes,
it never seems to change. It's like everyone won and everyone got that. It's like I'm just making pinball scores out of the economy every time I do it.
Yes.
Bing, 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 bing.
The worst Twilight Zone ever.
It sure is. It's the Giant Bombcast. I'm Brad Shoemaker, Jeff Kurtzman, Jason A. Stryker, Matt Rory are all here.
You are all four.
Hey. This is a quadrant.
Playing the role of
a 2x2. We've got a four up. A 4 up.
4 up.
Actually, literally the name of my OBS scene for this thing at one point was Bombcast 4 up.
Yeah.
So we're definitely on the same page here. Welcome.
It's great to be here.
To video games.
Oh.
Welcome to the internet.
Are we here for video games?
Welcome to life.
All right.
Now
we're getting somewhere.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Landmark day in the history of our nation.
In the history of our September. Wake me up when there's new fires here.
Yeah.
Yes.
The short version of it. New fires. A bunch of people got evacuated. Near here, homes are burning. It's fucking bad.
I was thinking about that this morning when I was pondering, like, what are we going to make small talk about at the top of this podcast? And I was like, this is the third time the fires have happened in the last 2 months.
This is different. These are different fires.
Maybe let's try to think of something else, but I can't think of anything else because how else?
It was 100 degrees yesterday. Yes. How about that? That too. That's all tied into the weather stuff, but
third separate instance of wineries are on fire this time, is my understanding.
Yep.
Quick, save the wine.
I didn't think grapes burned that well, but here we are.
I don't know. It's you can smoke them. So the air quality actually is better today than it has been.
Yeah.
It got better, and I was like, oh, thank God it's over. And then they were like, hey, the weather is going to get hot, so there might be fires. And I was like, oh, cool. And there were fires.
Sure enough. I haven't heard how this one started. I guess they don't find that out for a while.
Yeah, they usually look into it and they're like, guess what? It was another bad power line. And you're like,
guess what? It's a boy.
One of the two things, gender reveal party or PG&E sucking shit.
We had a power outage on Saturday, which was when it was getting warm. We don't have AC. We have like a portable thing, but somebody apparently rammed a car through a power pole near us. So it's all kinds of weird shit going on. We were down for like 3 hours. It was like 2 blocks away. So
usually you ram the power pole through the car. I'm surprised that.
Yeah, no, this thing sheared off. It was really. I must have been a truck or something. A lot of trucks around here.
Wow. Okay. Well, Oakland getting wild, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was another sideshow. I guess 2 people got hit by a car at a sideshow around here last week, which they're okay, but because it's just a car doing donuts. How fast is it going to whip around?
Fair.
And they're all 22. They're like immortal anyway. So
that's right.
Yeah. That's exactly.
Right. Yes,
exactly.
Bones.
Don't be to rubber those kids.
Mm-hmm. Yes, their bones have not.
22 might actually be on the generous side of the age of people going to a sideshow. That might be on the high end.
If honestly, I would definitely attend a sideshow if I knew that there was someone happening nearby and I could get wild. I don't know that I would necessarily partake. I don't think I have the vehicle for it anymore. But
I feel like a sideshow.
We got locked into
it's a pretty all ages event, right? It spans generations.
Mm-hmm. Anyone can hang out in a parking lot. It's just the older you get, the creepier it looks.
Yep. Well, I love the sound of it.
We've driven through a sideshow before. Like it was at an intersection, and there were minivans and stuff waiting for the cars to do their donuts. And it's like, okay, now we can pass. Now we can pass through. It's like, man, it's just they just start up anywhere.
Yeah,
they'll do it wherever.
You don't want to get.
They're organized though. The really big ones are really organized. Really? People come up from LA. We had one near our house that we had a helicopter going over. 1 million cops trying to shut it down, but the helicopter was they had blocked everybody into like a really tiny area, and the helicopter had a spotlight, and it just kept on repeating, "Get out of your vehicles and proceed to International Avenue."
Was it RoboCop?
If you leave your vehicles, you will be arrested. But they're gonna impound all these cards. Apparently, it was like one of the most coordinated shutdown of a sideshow I've ever seen. But
I thought you were going to say that the helicopter was turning tight ones up there, and I was going to get very excited.
Could somebody provide a brief definition of sideshow? Chad is extremely confused.
It's a bunch of people get together and have do spin a bunch of donuts in an intersection or a parking lot or whatever,
or a whole fucking freeway.
It's a spontaneous automotive event. Let's say.
Yes.
It's generally donuts. If they shut down a bunch of stuff, they can do the little drag racing too. But generally, it's always the same story where you hear the headline the next day, like 80 cars involved in massive sideshow, 1 arrest, because they just peel out as soon as they see a cop.
Yeah,
and they're all on like, I don't know, whisper networks or something. So they always get away. It's the most frustrating thing. But that, and also the other, it's not really a sideshow, but the other big automotive thing around here is people on dirt bikes in the middle of the street, especially in San Francisco. They'll go on the sidewalk and start popping wheelies and stuff. So you got to keep your head on a swivel.
You end up in a weird situation where some people that are going to sideshows are maybe going a little too hard, getting a little too dumb, a little too hyphy, and they're like, well, while I spin these donuts, I'm also going to empty a pistol into the air. And I'm like, I get it. Like, that sounds like fun, but don't shoot guns in the air. It's just, those bullets land somewhere. It's fucking bad news. Yeah. It's fucking bad news.
Rupale is very much the gunshot or firework kind of game here is constant. So
a lot of ups and downs in California, let's say.
Sure.
A land of contrasts.
That's right. I love the Bay Area. I always have a good time. I know you guys talk shit about shit on the street, but hey, put up with it for fun.
Yeah. You know what, in my opinion, is not something with a lot of contrast to it is Hades, because I think it's all good, pretty much.
Excellent.
There's not
good.
There's not a lot of bad in there, in my experience. Seems like everybody playing Hades here? Rory?
Yep. You're doing like 1 or 2 runs a day, something like that. Like,
that seems like that's a good cadence, I think.
I haven't picked it up since earlier this year, I want to say. I forget when it was.
And on the early access?
I talked to Greg about it last year, I think before Christmas, Kasavan, and I haven't really played it since I know they had the 1.0. I really liked what I did play of it, but it's just not something I've gone back to very much. I know everybody's talking about it, though.
That's right.
Now's the time, man.
I know.
It's 1.0. It's out. Let's do it.
I saw people.
It's on the Switch, I guess.
Yes.
So that's
really?
That's probably
that's probably the best way to play it.
Yes. I wish that crossed.
I hear the text is like really, really small though. Like they didn't scale for that properly.
Oh, right.
That could be really bad.
I haven't seen it on Switch, but yeah, that sounds that wouldn't be great.
I didn't follow the early access cycle for that thing because I just tend not to do that generally. But I saw a bunch of people saying it was like the best early access rollout they have ever seen because it
was very feature-filled, feature-rich. I mean, even a year ago. So,
well, not only that, but I know they were doing like feature drops where like every update had a name to it and a theme. It's like this is the blank update. And like it was full on modes and mechanics coming out.
Well, they put a timer in the game also that was just like days until next patch.
Wow,
like
crazy.
They didn't. I don't think they always quite hit that, but it was like I think that they took this approach to early access where they wanted to be very open about what was coming next and when, and transparency about like when the next update was coming. It seemed like a very
customer centric kind of
like a very noble way to do early access or whatever. And I thought that was a really cool idea that I've seen. Like Rogue Legacy 2 has something similar in it where it's kind of saying like, hey, next patch or next thing.
Feels like weird being excited about roguelikes again.
Hey,
like, when they're good, they're good, man. I mean, there's a ton of fucking really middling ones. I don't think that's.
I never stopped. The weird thing about the early access though was it was only on Epic, and I thought that was a really interesting way to get around a lot of the, get around or massage the way some people still have that hate boner for the Epic Game Store, and they just said, hey, it'll go 1.0 on Steam. You're gonna get the final product on Steam anyway, so don't be too mad about it. And I've seen nobody has had any problems with their Steam reviews or anything like that. It seems like they kind of escaped a lot of weird Reddit hate for the Epic Game Store, which is nice.
I think a lot of the games that debuted on Epic that eventually made their way to Steam once their deals expired, like really, in a lot of cases, took off on Steam in a way that I'm a little surprised by. I guess for early access games, it makes sense because I think there are a lot of people out there that just say like, hey, I'm going to wait until this is done. But when it launched on Steam, it was still in early access. They didn't like.
Oh, really?
When it launched on Switch is when it went 1.0. And
Mad Laughter in the chat says apparently it had a bunch of early access specific dialogue in it about the fact that it was still early access or not finished.
That's cute.
Like,
oh yeah, that's
calling out that it didn't have an ending and stuff like that.
right.
Which I guess is something you can do when a bunch of your voice actors are on staff.
Yeah, just
did you know?
get in there and
did you know Zagreus is Darren, the composer?
yeah.
That kind of blew my mind. I had no idea until I looked that up. Yeah, I don't know. Is anybody like deep into it? Has anybody finished it? I'm not sure. I'm not clear what constitutes finishing it. I've only made it to the second area so far.
There was I honestly I have not made it out of the second area yet either.
Yeah. I've just made it to the third, like as of last night, and that's given probably it's been about 20 runs or something like that. So I'm slowly getting into it.
But yeah, the game has a final boss and credits and all that other stuff. Like you will know when you finish it. For sure.
I'm curious if it keeps going after that. Like, is there more story to doing it multiple times to conclusion, or do you just kind of unlock an endless or like a hard mode? And
I think they have. I don't know for sure. I thought I saw some people saying that like, hey, there are reasons to finish it multiple times.
Yes. Okay. Actually, chat says yes. There is plenty more after you beat that end boss the first time.
Yeah. So I'm. Yeah, I need to play more of it. I haven't had a ton of time to dig into it as much as I would like to. But yeah, I'm trying to get a run or two in a night. I still have maybe one or two. I unlocked the fists. I think that might be the second to last weapon. I'm not positive.
I think that's right. That's my next weapon. I do not have. Do keys carry over between runs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Good.
Yeah,
that will be my next weapon.
So I had the gloves, which it's a multi-hitting thing, chain lightning on those, and then whenever I dash, there would be like a pool of water that would like knock back enemies. I was just zipping and dashing and punching. It felt so good, and that's where this game is like really, really drawing me in. It's the combat. It's felt fantastic so far.
I'm
very happy.
Favorite weapon? Like I feel like I've had my best luck with the bow, despite not liking the bow that much. Or
that's pretty popular. Yeah. I like the shield, to be honest.
Shield's pretty good. Shield's pretty good, actually. I think I might
shield.
I might need to go back to that, actually.
That's the Avengers game that the Avengers game couldn't dream of being.
Totally.
Huh.
But yeah, it's I just we talked about it a little bit last week, but I just the look of that game I think is so crazy good. Like just the way the art style is represented both in game and in the kind of static pictures of the various gods and whatnot. Like I'm really just taken aback with just how good that game looks.
I think whoever did all the motion graphics in that game is on top of their game. Like the way that just every time you pick up an upgrade, the way that the upgrade menu interface sort of like explodes onto the screen with this big flourish, like that stuff is so slick. Like it's really nice. Production values in that game
I feel like I've been to ancient Greece an awful lot, with these gods, and I thought that I was tired of it, but this proved me wrong. That you can add a lot of character to these characters. Yeah. It's been great.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
I need to play some more of that.
Speaking of roguelikes, Spelunky 2 hit PC today.
Yeah, like what, 2 hours ago or something?
I think earlier, but
was it this earlier this morning? I want to check because
let me walk you through my morning with Spelunky 2. Downloaded Spelunky 2, had 10 minutes before a meeting. I was like, I'll check out Spelunky 2. If the run goes well, I can always pause it or whatever for this meeting or whatever it is. It starts the tutorial. You go through an area, you pick up pages of a book, and it tells you the story about why you're a different character and all this other stuff and the moon and whatever else. So I get through the tutorial, get into the first level, and I'm like, all right, the real Spelunky begins here. I'm like, there's a little pot here. What's that? I'm going to hit this with my whip. I hit that. There's a diamond in it. I go, ooh, a diamond. I pick up the diamond. A ghost appears, kills me. 10-second run.
Yep. That's a new thing.
Like, okay, Spelunky 2. All right. And then I quit. And then I quit out of Spelunky 2 and went to my
uninstalled
meeting.
Similar to my first experience with that game, for sure.
That's a curse jar. So it summons a ghost if it's broken. If you can get it to the end of the level, though, you can break it for the diamond, which is worth like 5,000 gold.
Yeah. So, have you figured out anything else to do with it yet?
I didn't play much of the PS4 version. I've only started a little bit today. I'm really liking it so far. The big thing to know about it is that they did. I put up a community co-op corner of Spelunky 2 for later today, and then I found out Sunday night that they had removed all the internet stuff from it. I'll still stream a little bit today, but they had to yank everything with netcode involved, co-op and deathmatch and all that stuff from the PC version to launch it on time. And honestly, the PS4 netcode was god awful. So
rough.
I can see why.
A little rough.
Okay.
Speaking of that game launching on Steam this morning, I am shocked. I'm sitting here looking at the front page of the Steam store, and it's got zero promotion of any kind. I wonder if
for Spelunky 2?
Yeah, I
oh,
wonder if that has anything to do with the PS4 exclusivity. Like Valve.
Well, I mean, you got to pay for that if you want it, right? I mean,
well, yeah, but I mean, just like Valve's just like, nah. I don't know.
If they paid Valve, then Valve would be like, absolutely.
Well, it's not even in the carousel. It's not even in like that 10-unit rotating thing at the top right now. Like I figured, maybe I'm overestimating how big Spelunky is.
I don't know. I mean, they definitely had. It wasn't. They've never said it, but I assume there was a co-marketing deal with Sony for all the blogs are on Sony and everything like that. So maybe that's an exclusive thing where they can't do it elsewhere. I
thought the release of a new Spelunky was enough of a cultural event.
Well, where is it on like the chart or whatever? The like, was it like new and trending?
Yeah, new and trending. Actually, maybe there's something algorithmic going on because it's also not showing up for me under top sellers or new and trending. So I don't know.
For me, it shows up as number 2 when I just open it in a browser.
Number
2 on new and trending. It's number 1 on top sellers.
Okay, maybe they're filtering stuff.
And Nier is on sale. Ooh.
Oh, okay. I mean, well. Look, it's no Cockhead, okay?
Yeah, no. It is directly ahead of Cockhead.
Is it really
trending? Yeah,
it is,
Cockhead over here at number 3.
You could easily make that.
I believe Cockhead was, I believe, the number 1 game yesterday.
Well, people love dicks.
I guess so.
They're well animated dicks. I gotta say,
man, Steam's getting wild lately.
Steam is.
I know it's been wild, but let's maybe say the wildness is surfacing a little more.
You get dig through the VR section late at night and see what you find.
Rank shit in there.
Huh. Okay. Well, all right. Great.
We opted into it. We did. It's true. I mean, you have to set that flag.
I did. It explicitly told them, show me everything, and they sure are.
Yeah. Hook me up with the real shit, I said. And Gabe looked up from like doing the knifey thing with his hand and said like, oh, you want it raw. And I said, yes, I do, sir.
Sounds just like him.
And miraculously, a new world unfolded before me, and I want to be clean again, and unfortunately, I never will be.
You can't.
You tell Steam you want to see
back.
Everything. You don't
Steam
realize.
is asking me if I want to fuck my teachers to get better grades now.
It's like what you don't realize is Steam is actually
they're telling you have to.
Steam is that sleaze in the alleyway in a trench coat going
Yeah. Oh God!
It's like, oh wow, I didn't want to see.
Steam is the old Times Square.
Yes. Oh boy.
Right. Oh boy. Yeah, exactly.
Steam's purveyor of Spelunky 2 and other fun video game products. Yeah, I definitely will be playing a lot of that. I'm not going to stream all day, every day, or anything like that. But I'd like to get back to like a weekly kind of thing. Maybe, I don't know. I hope they fix the netcode. It's really, I mean. It was really, really bad on PS4, and I know that he said even the last delay of the Steam thing was to work on the netcode. So it was rotten. How far? Are you consistently beating Olmec? Are you getting deep into that game?
I've never beaten Olmec.
Really?
I don't want to spoil the fight. You can get past him without fighting him.
Okay.
There's a kind of a new mechanic. Spoiler, sorry. But no, I've gotten past him a few times on the PS4 version, but I haven't. I just literally put in like 10 minutes a day. So,
but not on stream. That's where it really counts.
Yeah, not on stream. I've heard what you have to do to get to the optional end boss is really ridiculous. So I'm looking forward to a new challenge. Like Spelunky, it's stopped being difficult to me after a while, but Spelunky 2 does seem like an upgrade. Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna get for that. Spelunky is very, very hard. Spelunky 2 seems very, very harder. I went back and looked at the comments on the quick look we put up just randomly today to see what people had said since then, and somebody said, "Hey, don't kill the shopkeeper until you're like good at beating the game." Like they recommended, like you should just buy stuff. I prefer the added degree of difficulty to take out the shopkeeper and get that shotgun. I mean, it makes the game a lot more difficult if you don't get good items, but I don't know. I always like the chaos that the shopkeepers bring to a run. So
certainly, yes. So there's an extra level of randomness for sure.
Tune in later today. I think I put it up at like 4 p.m. Pacific. Maybe I'll shift that forward a bit if we don't have an aftermath. But definitely looking forward to getting my time into it. So
game is just a weird randomness generator. Honestly, like I ended up playing that thing on the internet like 4 different times the week it came out, and nobody seemed to get sick of watching it because
no, it's great.
You never know what you're gonna get. What else y'all playing?
Go ahead.
Yo, I loaded up some of that Genshin Impact.
Yes, I was just about to ask if
anybody.
I know,
oh boy,
I think I know Jan and Ben were taking a look at that, but they couldn't make it today. But
right, I just wanted to find out what the hell this thing is because it's getting a lot of buzz.
Free to play Breath of the Wild clone, except a gacha is the story I am being told.
This was the game that someone in China brought their PlayStation 4 to like China Joy or whatever it was and smashed it with a hammer or something because it was such a Zelda ripoff. It was like, no, this is unacceptable. Some fucking nonsense. So
do I not know what a gacha is? I thought I did, but then I saw people calling this a gacha. Like what?
It's like a lottery kind of thing, right?
Right. I like it. Like it calls to mind like a fucking UFO catcher crane game type thing when I hear that word. Like
it's literally like the drop a quarter of the thing and turn it, and you get the sticky hand, or maybe you get some just a quantity of slime.
Right.
So you can.
So when I see somebody calling a lavish, very nice looking open world game a gacha, I'm like, I don't. What does that even mean at this point?
So like upgrading characters and the weapons that you get, I guess, are tied to that. I haven't gotten that far in it.
Wait, so is every loot game a gacha now? Is that
no? Because it's really specifically that you are spending money to get random
roll
pulls.
dice.
It's like a loot crate sort of scenario.
The thing that's illegal now.
Yeah, Japanese loot crate games are typically as gachas, and most of them are mobile games. And like Grand Blue Fantasy.
Yep.
Is one of those in its pre-fighting game form.
Huh. Oh, right. Yes, of course.
It's obviously a big mobile game, or like that Fire Emblem game was one,
really?
Wasn't it?
The phone.
I don't know.
Yeah, where you're getting like, here's a 5-star of the version of this guy instead of a 4-star version. Like it's there's rarities, there's all sorts of shit around that where you're just like, hey, I'm going to buy 10 draws or I earned them through play or whatever it is. And you end up getting a bunch of random shit, most of which is garbage.
Right. I think the only one I ever got into is Puzzle and Dragons, which is really good.
Yeah. I think I played some of that at some point.
Yeah. Then they put out that 3DS one where they didn't even deal with the gacha mechanics.
Right. Yeah.
I think.
And that was pretty good. It had the Mario mode, like you could play it Mario style.
That's right.
That's how I play it. Mario style. They grill onions.
But this game is pretty. Like it looks good. You wouldn't expect this kind of visuals from like a free to play game.
Yeah, I went and downloaded it because it looks so damn good.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm gonna get into it or not, but like,
what platforms is it on?
PC, phones, and PS4.
Oh, it's on phones.
Okay.
Wow,
it's on phones. Yeah,
I guess games can do that now.
Loot boxes, I think Magic Arena is supposed to come out too. And I'm sorry I talk about this game every time I'm on, but I've been playing a lot of it. It's supposed to come to Phones 2 at some point soon, and I'm really curious how
Phones 2, the sequel to Phones.
Yeah. There are some cards that have 100 words of text on them. Not 100, but a lot. And I'm really curious to see how it turns out. But I've been playing a bunch of that lately because they had a set rotation. They had to ban a card within like a week because the power level was too high. But it's in a really weird state. But I still play a shitload of it. But I'm also just like kind of going through the motions of doing the daily quests. You talk about gachas and I assume Genshin has like daily stuff and everything like that. Or is it a quest-based system, or is it just like pure rewards for doing gameplay actions?
I have no idea. Like I got as far as the one of the characters were referring to themselves in the third person, and I noped out.
Really? That's a thing for you?
When they're talking in a real like cutesy voice,
okay,
I can't deal.
That's where I check in.
Yeah, I've got some YouTube channels that you should definitely not visit.
Right.
Is there any multiplayer that you know of in that game? Like, did people show up in your world or anything like that?
I don't know. I thought it was described as an MMO, but I know you get additional party members. I don't know if those are controllable by other people or what. I have no idea. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far.
All right.
Paimon is annoying. I'm sorry.
I have been going through the end of Borderlands 3. Speaking of annoying, I reinstalled. Yeah, I know. Speaking of annoying enemies, I've had to mute the voices in that game because the two streamer bad guys are so goddamn annoying.
You are not the first person on this podcast, or even this year, maybe it was last year, that has said that exact thing.
Yeah. It's weird to bring it up now because I know it's like a year and a half later, but I just wanted something dumb and I could play while I'm watching football or whatever. And that game really strikes a chord in that sense. If you get a good gun, you have a good time. But it's speaking of annoying voice, I don't know who thought that would be a good idea to have like streamers to be the bad guys, and they're always talking to you. There's a lot of talk in that game for being a shooter or shooter-looter or whatever.
It's easy to see like, how someone who wrote the character or like a game that brought you Handsome Jack would think that this is where you go from there. Like, the characters and dialogue in that game has been fucking abysmal for like the past couple. That game, I played way more of that game than I thought I would, and still never finished it, and was just like so unhappy with like the class I chose.
I honestly assumed
their way they tried to handle end game content and stuff like that, or some of the co-op stuff, just was just like, man,
I really assumed
really bad choices.
I really assumed that you would at least grudgingly finish that game. So when even you did not do that, I thought it kind of said everything about it.
Yeah, man. I was originally thinking like, I'm not having a good time, but maybe I'll stick with it because it is, like just to see if there are any better guns. And I just got to a point where the quest design and some of the world design too, some of the different areas of just like the things they wanted you to do and take you all the way around the long way to get to the other side of a door and some other just stupid shit like that. I was just like, I'm fucking done, man. No, thanks.
I gave up entirely on the side quest. I mean, I just stopped because you out-level the main quest over time. It's really not that difficult of a game.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's difficulty settings. I was playing on normal or whatever, but I was tempted because I just enjoy. It's like Destiny 2. Like I don't play Destiny 2 for this story at all. Mute all that shit and just shoot some stuff. But I was curious about the season pass because I know they have a bunch of DLCs for it. But it's still $50. It's like a whole fucking other game that I'm sure there's a lot of content there, but it's surprising that it's still that expensive.
God, I keep thinking about Destiny lately because the clock is actually starting to tick now. Like, what do we have? Like maybe 5 weeks at most, or about a month-ish?
It's like a month, little under a month and a half.
Before the vault closes.
Oh, no.
Before the
vault of ass. The bad content is going away.
I heard the install size is supposed to be dropped dramatically after this whole thing. Like it's supposed to be a lot smaller, but
sure. I'll take it, I guess. I don't know.
I try to log into Destiny 2 every once in a while, and I just have no idea what I'm supposed to do to progress the storyline, because the quest and the UI system is really not the best for doing multiple.
They redid it again, but it's still really? Like I looked at it like last week and was like, this is much better, but I still have no idea what I need to do.
Yeah. I mean, some stuff, the way they break quests out is at least nice now, because it'll be like, here are the seasonal quests, so those are going to go away at some point. Here are the quests broken out by, I think, expansion, if I'm not mistaken. It's at least a little easier to tell what each quest belongs to, but yeah, it's still not.
I think I've seen that UI, and I think what confuses me still is that a lot of the quests are like attached to items that you have to like power up with certain kills and everything like that, and then like trying to find out what I'm supposed to be doing to do those quests is really difficult.
Like, where in the world do I go to do this? Because it'll say things like, you need to kill Hive, and I was like, okay, I if I was playing this game on a more regular basis, I would still retain the exact information about which planets are the Hive planets, which ones are not, and all that stuff. But that's not front of mind stuff. So yeah, like I definitely get to a point where I launch the game, I see I have a billion quests, some of which I don't even know if I can complete anymore. And all of them are like, go get 10 headshots with pistols. Like, fuck that. That's not a quest. I want to do like story type stuff. But when I launched it last week, I basically just like, I was looking at Stadia and was curious to see if people were playing Destiny 2. So I logged in there, and there were like 5 people in the tower, which is that's a new record. And went and collected all my clan guns and went up like 2 numbers, and that's fun. and then picked up a quest. That was like, because the last thing I did in that game was I logged in to watch the spaceship crash. Or watch their live event that took forever and was maybe somewhat underwhelming. But not as bad as people made it out to be, but still.
It just took too long.
Yeah, and then there was a quest that was just like dude saying like, there's more pyramids. We got to get the pyramids. I'm like, oh shit, pyramids. And I was like, oh right, there was a pyramid.
Right. There's more where that came from.
Yeah.
I wish at this stage, once you got in there, they would just be like, hey, go do this stuff because it's going away. Like, I wish they would just really explicitly steer you toward the stuff that you want. Because you're not going to be able to
One of the whole reasons they're cutting us down. I mean, there's just too many things to do at any given time. They flatten it all out so you can do any of the previous expansions at any time, right? I think. Yeah. So it's all valid at the whatever you're doing. So it's just too much stuff. Which is a weird thing for me to say about a game.
Does that mean that the campaign of Destiny 2 is no longer going to be playable? Because
I think they are redoing whatever the new user experience is to account for that. Because as I understand it,
the campaign, by its very nature, uses every part of the landmass that they are, now removing from the game. So I guess
they did say like, oh, the Red War campaign is coming out of the game. Like, okay,
that's wild.
But are they rolling in something that's like it's an abbreviated version of the Destiny 1 campaign or something?
Oh, I don't know. So the full Cosmodrome is coming back, so maybe part of it?
I don't know if there's something. I think they are. I mean, obviously, as part of that, I think they're redoing they redid when they went free to play. They and flattened the power curve or whatever. Yeah. They redid a lot of the new onboarding stuff then, so it doesn't necessarily always point you to that Red War campaign anyway. So I presumably that's not a huge deal, but also, like what is the story of Destiny? It's whatever's happening in the current season is the actual answer now.
Chat just reminded me of something that is like I guess it's a minor spoiler for where the story of Destiny 2 is at. If anybody cares, does anybody care?
I would love to know.
Counting down 5, 4, 3, mute your podcast. Gusty Gardens, I had read about this and I forgot about it, mentions that there's a quest in there right now that ends with an exotic, and that quest takes you through a bunch of the different vaulted or soon-to-be vaulted like places and activities that are about to go away. But if it's the same one that I read about, they kill off a bunch of the NPCs in the course of you doing that activity.
Okay.
Like the kind of shitty Rick and Morty mad scientist guy and the lady who hangs out with the armor at the oil rig.
Right. Yeah.
And I think there's somebody else that dies. I forget. Anyway, like they straight up ice some of those NPCs that guided you through that game. So like,
clean house from time to time.
They're kind of serious about some of this stuff, at least. Yeah, I don't know.
WoW has done that a bunch. And I know I'm like hitting for the cycle of games that I mention every time I'm on the Bombcast, but WoW had an expansion a couple times. That Legion killed off a bunch of people, but now the new one that's coming out pretty soon sends you to like the Shadow Realm, where all these NPCs are probably coming back. Like, you're probably talking to Arthas and all these other people too. So it feels like they're just kind of like having their cake and eating it too.
I mean, you can't have like a WoW game or any kind of Warcraft universe game without Arthas for longer than what 6 to 12 months before they're like, we want players to be asking at all times, even when he's not on screen, where's Arthas?
Where's Illidan and where's Arthas?
I was going to say it's the what is it? It's the Arthas Illidan Malfurion triangle. Is that what it is? Like one of those has to be in the game at all times.
Yeah. It's been nothing but Sylvanas for the last few expansions, so I think everybody's ready to be over that. But I'll be curious. I hear a lot of good things about it, but I guess we'll know more in like a month or so. I think.
You're back in.
I will resubscribe when the pre-patch hits. I don't expect it to be great. Battle for Azeroth is really bad, but we'll know soon.
Doing some stream testing over the weekend. I needed to stream to test with, and I went on Twitch, and there was some straight up WoW Battlegrounds like esports shit going on. And I didn't know
they pushed that pretty heavily.
I didn't know
they
that
stopped doing Heroes of the Swarm. They kind of stopped doing the events for, right? I think maybe they had some overhead to. I don't play PvP in WoW, but I've seen a lot of stuff for them. They're trying to get that to be a thing. So more power to them.
Sure. I don't know. That's all I got for games. Y'all got
Serious Sam 4.
Serious Sam 4, right.
Oh, yeah.
I knew I was forgetting something. I was curious about that game.
That's up on the website. I ran a stream last week where I said, hey, let's play some Serious Sam 4 and see what's up with this game, because it was the day it was out, and it was Like basically from the time that game came out until I got to it in the early afternoon, there was suddenly like this groundswell of people going like, "Oh my God, fuck this game!" Like people seemed so pissed about Serious Sam 4, and I was like, "Come on, it can't." And
it can.
it's not I played an hour and a half, something like that. It's not a good game.
The performance of that game compared to what you were looking at was shockingly bad. Like, it ran like garbage from what I saw of you playing it.
It didn't run especially bad for me. I don't know if that maybe was just like, cramming 165 frames into a 60 frame hole or, something
maybe.
like that. Maybe it was something like that. But that game took forever to load, and I won't say it ran fantastic, I guess, actually. Sure. But performance wise, that was not the thing that I was coming away from it going like, boy, this performs poorly. Mm-hmm. It was more like, this just seems like a really... God, I mean, like think about what Serious Sam was when it came out. It was like, hey, shooters are getting more complicated, and suddenly you have an inventory. What the fuck is Doom 3? Like it to me, it felt like this game of like, as the sun was beginning to set on that wave of first person shooting, and the games were getting more complicated. Serious Sam was like, no, man, we're gonna circle strafe and fuck shit up.
Right. It's like Painkiller. It's like, hey, Doom was the best game ever made, and we're just gonna keep making games like that.
Totally. And Serious Sam was like, at the time, like this weird breath of fresh air in a way, where it was just like, oh man, it's so cool to just have like this, it's still contemporary, but manages to feel a little bit like a throwback to the pre-Quake, I guess, in some ways, like that kind of Wolfenstein, Blake Stone. No, not Blake Stone. But
also,
you know what I mean?
Contrary to its name, it didn't take itself super seriously,
Exactly.
Fucking dudes holding their own exploding heads in their hands running at you.
Yeah, or like holding bombs and screaming with no heads.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it was a cool-ass game, and I feel like they never really achieved that level. Like, not to say that the next Serious Sam games were terrible or anything like that. It was just a feeling of like, that game hit at a time and a place that you were like, I get it. This game needs to exist. Yes. And I'm glad that they made it. And wow, this technology is surprisingly impressive for this team that we had never heard of out of Croatia. Like Crow Team was, you're just like, whoa, this game came out of nowhere.
Like somebody was carrying the torch for some shooter-ass shooters, basically.
Totally. And Serious Sam 2, I don't remember too much about. I remember like similarly, it was like, oh, this is good. It's cool they made another one. I know some people really like it. And then I think Serious Sam 3 is where people were like, "What the fuck are you doing? There's way too much dialogue. You've gotten away from what made it great."
Oh my God! The part that you played where he's asked what he reads, and I read books by Philip K. Dick. Unexplained, not really a joke, just like he's talking about something. I was
not like, the only joke there is like Serious Sam reads books, but like they didn't write enough of they needed to write more depth to that to actually have it land, I think, but instead it felt like a placeholder joke of, they're just like, we're gonna punch up this book joke later with some different authors or some kind of thing there, but it's a really strange. It's a really strange game that has a ton of dialogue and a ton of story, and like also like just the sense of humor it has is really. It's like if the Postal team tried to clean it up.
Okay.
If it was like, sure. It's like if the writers of Postal were like, let's take out all the dick stuff, but maybe just like allude to some dicks or something. Like it's got just a certain like ham-fisted quality to it. You're just like, this was the writing in this. It's not a game that I think when I think about what I would want out of a Serious Sam game, like the writing and a deep story is not the stuff I necessarily want. But like right out of the gate in the intro, they introduce you to all these characters that are part of this like alien fighting team. And I think it's technically a prequel. I don't know if it's a prequel to the whole franchise or just to 3 or whatever it is, but it's like, kind of starts at the end and then goes back to just like, you're driving around in vehicles and you got your team, and Serious Sam sure does talk a lot, but his voice is still that same I'm talking tough. And it's just got this like, all right, I don't know why you're doing this, but like, boy, like it's got extreme Duke Nukem Forever vibes. in a way too, but again, not in like the scatological, like, it's not necessarily dirty per se, or bawdy, or whatever the fuck you want to try to call Duke Nukem Forever. It's just kind of, there's just nothing to it. Like it's the sort of game where you get set up with this, like the only squad mate that makes it out of the initial area until you run into him, but it's you and this rookie named Kenneth. And it's the sort of game where I had to stop and go, like, they're just going to do a South Park joke with this eventually. Like, eventually this guy died. It's like, that was the quality of the writing, where you're just like, boy, they are sure going to do a "you killed Kenny" thing, like, in 8 hours, aren't they? I don't know if they do or not, but like, that's the game that's the game it felt like that they're making from what I played. The action itself, like, one of the best shotguns in video games. I'll give them that. But like, amazing. In a way that is like maybe bad, but like, you get these you get the double barrel shotgun, and it works at a range that is like insane. Like, it's not right. You shoot that thing off at enemies that are on far off rooftops, and they all have health bars, and you'll see them take like 50% damage, and you're like, this isn't right. Like, this there's no way that this shotgun is supposed to be doing this. And so, like, I'll give them that. Like, they made a fun shotgun by virtue of making it so fucking overpowered that you're just like, this is stupid.
How much is that game? Is that
I'll look. I think it's. I want to say it's 40.
That's what I was about to say, but I don't want to commit to that. Do they ever make good on the watching the trailers for that game? And granted, I don't think any of this was gameplay footage, but like,
it opens with a ton of enemies on screen.
That's what
like. There's the opening sequence.
The image of like 1,000 fucking guys running over a hill at you all at once, and you have to shoot all of them. Is like what I was looking for out of that game. Like,
the opening of the game is that, and then you die, and then that is like you have to die there, I think, and then the game starts from there.
Is there like anything unusual about like kind of the tech of that? I mean, did that make you go wow, like they're packing enemies onto the screen like I have not seen before? Because
it was more like, oh right, that was the thing they were touting about this game, and here it is.
That's kind of the vibe I got from those trailers, was just like, you fucking have never seen this many enemies in one place before. Like, we're all the way.
Well, I think, it depends on how they work it into the rest of the game. Like, because that is very much a set piece. Like, you are forced to die as part of the story, and it's you with a minigun just mowing guys down. But like, you see a ton of them, but I didn't run up to all of them to really see if they all popped in full detail, all that other stuff. And there are definitely some cases where you see like a close up of the logo on the side of your Humvee or whatever, and the detail texture hadn't popped in yet, and it then pops in. So it's like, there's some stuff around that was a little surprising. As a not old, not Unreal Engine game, I was surprised to see that type of texture pop. But like, load times, I was loading off an SSD, and the load times were just like abysmal. It's a really good shotgun, but it's just the sort of game that I looked at and was just like, boy, I don't know what you do with a Serious Sam game in 2020, but this doesn't seem like it at all. It's just dialogue wise, and the structure of the levels and the encounters and all that other stuff just felt really flat. And having some hidden areas you can go off into and get some additional weapons or ammo or whatever just didn't really help. So nice shotgun though.
Like, honestly, hearing that it even has an intro and other characters almost makes it seem like they lost the plot.
There's like
I think that's basically what Serious Sam 3 was, though. I think at that point it was like they kind of got away from that. And then what was it? They did Serious Sam 3, and then they do the remakes of the first two games, like Serious Sam: The First Encounter, or Serious Sam: The Second Encounter. Was that
Talos? Was the other thing?
Yeah, they did Talos.
That's right. I totally forgot.
Isn't that crazy?
They also made
hell of a game.
Talos Principle is fantastic.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, I'll say, if you want something in that vein that is a little cheaper, and I actually enjoyed it, there's a game called Hellbound that came out a couple months ago. It's very much Doom and like a Quake engine
shooter. I thought that was a Dark Souls.
There's Hellpoint. It's also
Hellpoint. Right.
That's a Dark Souls game. Hellbound. I did a stream with them a couple months ago. I think.
Is that just how we refer to games now? Like, is it a Doom? No, it's a Dark Souls. Okay, got it. Now I get what you're saying.
Yeah, Hellbound is like $20. It goes really quick. There's it's more kind of like a huge amount of enemies, kind of, but it's like a Doom and a Quake engine kind of thing. It was really fun, I thought. Very short, not a lot of enemies, not a lot of weapons, but if you're looking for that kind of thing, it could be worse than give it a try.
Sure.
Or look up the video I did a couple months ago.
looks okay. Oh, and I think I'm playing the trailer to the stream, so we should move on.
Nope.
So y'all got anything else for games you want to talk about?
No, that's pretty much
Battlegrounds. I don't know if you guys talked about that last week.
Is there anything to add there?
Yeah, nothing to really add.
Okay.
But,
do you like I don't hate that game as much as the trailers looked, but it sure doesn't seem like a good game, and boy, no one's playing it online.
Yeah.
Really? Is it bad?
It's broken as shit too.
Oh, really? Okay.
As far as like balancing is concerned, but I had a better time than I thought I was going to. Like I was, I don't know, really turned off by the just presentation of that game and all
they
the
do a bad job
microtransactions.
of representing the characters and personalities and all that stuff. Yeah,
that stuff's pretty ugly.
Is there a story to that?
Yeah, they do have a campaign that is presented in a comic book style, and it's ridiculous. Paul Heyman comes up with this new it's called the Battlegrounds. Essentially, it's this new federation inside of the federation, whatever. But he enlists Stone Cold Steve Austin to traverse the globe looking for these new up and comers, and it's written poorly. It's illustrated poorly.
Wait, is Stone Cold wrestleable in that game?
Yes.
Yeah. He's totally playable.
Is this like a Legends of Wrestling situation? Because
no, he's been. I feel like he's in the normal games these days too. They put a lot of.
Then they've got someone like Yokozuna in there who hasn't been in a game for.
I was gonna say, when was the last time Stone Cold wrestled on television?
Oh yeah, no, he retired from in-ring action a long time ago.
He's a podcast guy right now, right?
Yep.
That's how he do. But,
okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, I actually.
Sorry, go ahead.
I actually had a better time playing that game. I found myself going back to it again and again. I
think their
campaign. I don't know.
Really?
It's okay, but
I found the campaign stuff. I would love to see the rest of the comic book panels because they're so hilarious and they're so terrible. The art is so when you with the introduction of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I posted it to Twitter.
Yeah,
the face he's got is so broken, not him. But and the in-game models look bad too for different reasons. It's just art-wise, it's really fucking terrible.
But I love the ridiculous situations that it puts him in. He's at this a gator wrestling match, and he's got this foam crocodile head on, and just picturing Stone Cold like that is ridiculous. And then you meet up with Jake the Snake Roberts, and he's not praying, but he's he's sat down with all the snakes, and they're floating all around him and shit. And it's
the power of DDP yoga.
Yeah. Probably is.
AEW's Jake the Snake Roberts, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
He's in the story. It's the roster's weird. I like their kind of endless 4-player King of the Mountain, whatever, the King of the Ring, whatever they end up calling it. That mode is a neat idea. But I just think playing it it's really boring on the gameplay side. I just would love to. I should just look in the directory and see if those are just all JPEGs, and maybe I can just find all the story, comic book stories stuff, and just look at that. And that seems like that would be the best way to not play that game. Is just to look at that stuff and go, boy, this is rough.
I definitely hit a wall with it. I did find myself coming back to it now and again, but once I hit a difficulty spike, I'm like, this is not worth it. I'm not. I'm not playing this again and again and again.
And the monetization is really gross. I think you can. The monetization seems built on the notion that there are people playing the online, because I did that 4-player mode and survived for 10 minutes, and then I logged in a week later, 5 days later, whatever it was, and got 8,500 coins or something the grind currency, and I was like, oh, okay,
that's where you make the bucks. Yeah,
half the time when I go to look for a match, even though the game has crossplay, it never connects to anything. So I've just had really rotten luck since launch day in terms of just finding online matches and doing their tournament mode. Also, I won the first match, so I got to level 2, where I assume it's only going to match me with other people who are also at level 2, and it never matched me with anyone. So
how's the I know I watched a little bit of the quick look too, or the video you did. I noticed that some wrestlers were more expensive than others. I'm assuming Hulk Hogan's going to be way more powerful than other stuff?
Yeah.
Is that
He's in the box. No, he's
okay. You don't. He's a no. But also yes, like his stats are. He's like a they give everybody like an overall number, and he's like a 94, 95. I think 95 is the highest. I think The Rock is 95. Stone Cold is 94. Like Brock Lesnar is somewhere around there. Seth Rollins is around there. So there's probably only just like a handful of viable characters with that stuff.
What I found actually with Triple H is that you can build your meter in like just a handful of seconds because you can build it with taunt, right? His taunt takes 2 seconds. Everybody else takes like 4 or 5 , and so you can just spam that over and over.
That's
and
fucked.
do finisher over
That's
and over.
fucked. That's so
it's
broken.
It's messed up.
All right.
Yeah.
But I'm done with that game. I'm done.
Matt Rory, should he throw that game in the bammer?
What's a bammer?
You tell me.
All right.
I don't know,
man.
All right.
I don't know how to deal with that response. I
Sorry.
feel like
Is that a wrestling thing? I don't watch wrestling.
shit, man.
You should start, man.
Okay.
I feel like
Now's the time to get into
I
it.
feel like the very foundation of my being has just been undermined.
I'm a little clueless. Sorry.
Matt Rory.
Explain it to me on the break.
Oh my god. I don't. Okay, we have to go to break now. I don't know what else to say. This is We'll be right
I gotta
back.
get these dogs out.
All right. Can someone favor the chat? Can someone provide, to the best of your ability, a little oral history of the phrase "throw it in the bammer"?
So my memory of it goes like this. There's the RBL Posse track that's called "Don't Gimme No Bammer Weed."
Okay.
We don't smoke that shit in the SFC. And sometime after that, I believe Ryan and I started just referring to bad things as bammer, which,
Appropriate.
that's
The opposite of
the
hot
intent.
take.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's bammer. And then so my memory of it is Brad mishearing it and saying, throw it in the
I
bammer.
could have. Okay.
Like they're talking about the bammer.
Memory is a funny
and
thing.
I was saying like, yeah, throw it in the damn bammer.
I swear to God, that is a Matt Rory phrase.
I don't remember anything about it, but then my RAM is like constantly being overwritten these days with all the stuff going on.
You
So
can change out your.
my hard drive is not backed up. For a while
If you
now.
ask me on the spot, this is my memory. Well, literally on the spot. My memory of it is that I thought he dropped that phrase on an episode of On the Spot at some point.
It could be.
That somebody said something was shitty, and he said that we should throw it in the bammer.
Throw it in the bammer.
I swear to God.
I wasn't on the spot very often. Was that the live show or is that the podcast?
That was the live show.
Okay, I was on there a few times. Maybe I could be wrong. They're all archived somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
Archive.org
Yeah.
probably has all
I
that
bet
stuff
you could-
somewhere.
I bet you could find all those episodes right there next to my history of Metal Gear, which is totally still on the site.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ancient history. All right. Enough about then. How about we talk about now?
right now.
Get into some news here.
What's going on,
For
Brad?
the week. I've got the headlines here in front of me. Amazon announced a streaming service. It's
Of
called
course
Luna.
they did.
Yeah, of course.
Of course they'd call
Yeah,
it.
it kind of came out of nowhere, but also I feel like it's been a while from that we have been talking to people in the industry who have just been saying things like, "Yeah, of course they're doing that."
And also, like, people are like, "Oh yeah, I took a meeting with Amazon at GDC because
Right.
they were doing this and doing this and doing
Right.
this," and heard a lot about that. But that was such a long time ago that I had forgotten. So when this got announced, I was like, "Oh right, yeah, I guess they are still. I guess they didn't just give up when they saw Stadia and just go like, maybe that's not a good
Maybe
business."
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Luna. I mean, looking at the press release and the little landing page they've got up where you can sign up for early access to it. It seems like maybe they are at least avoiding some of the mistakes that Stadia has made because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you could buy games a la carte on this thing. It's just a subscription service for a game library, right?
It seems like they will do it similarly to how they've done like the Prime Video stuff, where you will subscribe to the default channel, and then you'll have like a Ubisoft channel that you can pay an additional monthly fee for and get access to those games. I believe those are the only two that they've talked about.
Yeah, so the base subscription is called Luna Plus. It is $5.99 a month. Early access is $5.99 a month. That sounds like that will be going up at quote unquote launch, whenever that is. which they describe as, I guess that's $6 a month, gets you 1080p and 4K streaming. Stream on 2 devices at a time. Unlimited hours of play, growing library of games. I'm just looking here.
Does it require like a Fire TV, or does it have its own box?
Runs on, let me scroll down to the devices here. It runs on
everything.
PC and Mac, Fire TV devices, Fire TV Stick, Fire TV Cube. And did Stadia do this? It runs in Chrome and Safari Mobile. Meaning you can
So that's the thing. Like that's
right. So you can play it just fine on an iPad or an iPhone by just loading it in the web browser. Which I had just assumed that was not possible because there's all this like strife around like xCloud and so forth not being able to.
That's how they're getting around it. The strife is by just having it run in a web browser and not be an app you have to download. And that's how they're able to do anything on iOS at all. And so Stadia you can play in Chrome on a PC. Okay. Just fine. That's how that is. When I play Stadia, that is how I do it.
Right. What about on iOS devices though? You can do that?
No, I don't believe.
Okay, so that's
I don't believe it supports it.
That's what I mean is they are coming out of the gate saying like, yeah, you can play this on any Apple mobile device.
Right. That's a big deal. Yeah. Assuming it works and tethers to controllers well and all that other stuff. Well, I guess it doesn't have to tether to controllers because their controller is like the Stadia controller in that it will just direct connect to
their service,
their racks or whatever. You know, it doesn't go through the mobile device. So that may be a situation where you are forced to use that controller because otherwise they're just feeding you a video feed in a web browser, which you can do all day long. You can watch Twitch on a web browser on your phone just fine. So if this is just that, then that's how they do it.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm sure right off the bat, everybody who has Twitch Prime will probably get like a free trial. I'm sure they'll start packing it in with like game sales on Amazon. They have so many different ways to get this in front of people that even Google didn't really have all the. Speaking of, I think there's a sideshow about to start. I don't know if you can hear it.
Google is starting a sideshow outside. I will sign up for Stadia.
You hear that at some point? That's sorry.
Boy, do I
got to hear that? But, that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, you can't hear it. I doubt the gating.
We cannot. But you can drag the webcam out there if you want.
Sorry, I'm really distracted today for dog reasons and noise reasons. Like Fruitvale is very noisy in general. Sorry about that.
I hear you.
Like I was saying, Amazon has so many different ways to get this in front of people. They already have Twitch. I'm sure there'll be some weird Twitch tie-in for all their.
Yeah, they did say like, hey, you'll be able to stream directly to Twitch with this, and kind of bypass the whole hardware setup that you normally need.
They also said the reverse direction of that. If you're watching somebody stream a game on Twitch, you can launch the game yourself right from their page, et cetera.
Which is a lot of what Google said about YouTube integration for Stadia that they never really made good on.
Well, the big difference is you still have to buy all those games, right? Like that seems like the big differentiator here is you're just paying a flat fee and getting a bunch of games, and that seems like the right way to do a service like this.
Yeah. It scrolled off, so I didn't see who said it, but someone had a comment that I feel is fairly astute and describes where the game industry is in the process of going. But they said, "Oh, that's why Microsoft bought Bethesda, because this is about to become a content fight on those sorts of like who goes where, which services are exclusive, and all that sort of stuff. Like it's no longer, or the which console are you appearing on is going to be a different fight from the which streaming service are you on, and I wonder if that'll be the race to acquire. I would not be shocked if that was." If Amazon was interested in acquiring Bethesda at some point, if they maybe had discussions prior to the Microsoft closing the deal or something like that. So I don't know, but that's to me, Amazon getting in now, Google obviously being in it, though not necessarily being super aggressive.
Did you see that quote out there from one of the founders of Bethesda that was basically, the phrasing was basically like, what Microsoft owns, Sony cannot get? I think is how he put it. About talking about the acquisition, just very cutthroat.
Yeah, but again, like I think that's certainly, that's a thing. But what Microsoft owns, Amazon can't get is probably the future fight, the fight of the next decade.
Yeah. Also, I didn't put it in the news, the list of headlines, but Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, was out there talking about the Bethesda acquisition, saying essentially like, yeah, we're going to keep doing this. Like,
Yeah.
I think the phrase he used was like inorganic growth. Like we will look to grow inorganically when it makes sense. So they're not. Sounds like they're not necessarily done buying companies, but anyway.
Seems like they've got the money for that.
Yes, for sure. This controller sure looks a lot like the Switch Pro controller.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah, it's not a terrible thing.
No, I mean, it's like a fine controller design, but it looks so much that when I saw it, I thought it was just like a third party, like a knockoff Switch Pro controller, like quite literally. But yeah, it looks fine. But whatever, you can use Xbox, PS4 controllers, et cetera. That stuff all works as well. The base subscription, like the games I got listed right now, like the biggest stuff I see on here is like Control, Resident Evil 7, Bloodstained, Indivisible, The Surge 2, SteamWorld Dig 2. Like it's not nothing, but it's not a lot of big new stuff. But it looks like the Ubisoft channel that you can optionally subscribe to, which they do not have a price on yet, straight up has like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion and all their shit. So
I assume that ends up getting price matched to whatever Uplay Plus is.
Oh, sure.
$15 a month.
Okay.
Is it really?
Plus
Ooh, that's
still. I know.
I guess
If you're playing it for a month for like, Division 2 has all the content now, it's not bad.
Yes,
But
if you think
it is more than I expected.
If you think you're going to get your fill of Assassin's Creed Valhalla in 1 month, that is a good price for sure.
But that adds up. If you're like, I'm actively playing. Like, let's say you're like, I'm a Division player and I need to say signed up to this for multiple months because they're always adding content, and and 3 other channels do the same thing with games you're playing. Like those fees start to add up pretty substantially.
Yes.
So maybe it ends up not being $15 a month because that my gut reaction would be that they would not price it under Uplay Plus.
Probably
who
right.
knows?
Unless Amazon is like subsidizing it in some major way.
Yeah.
But even then, probably, because otherwise, why would they
Right.
run?
Why would you? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. This is just kind of more of that, but it seems like they are making some smarter decisions than Google was straight out of the gate. So,
yeah, it's interesting for sure. Like, if you assume the tech works as well as Stadia can, then that might matter. I think that there's still going to be a ton of resistance to a stream-only solution and a separate ecosystem, and what that means for a separate player base and all that other stuff. You'll see some of the same things you saw people say about Stadia, just as the reality of it being its own separate thing, and not tied into one of the existing ecosystems or whatever.
Sure.
But
probably worth pointing out that Luna's servers are Windows and NVIDIA based, so it sounds like porting games to this will be way easier than the kind of custom like Linux custom server rack setup that Google's got going on. So
that's a good point.
That matters for sure.
Other platform news: our friend Jeff Bakalar got his hands on an Xbox Series X prototype of sorts.
Yeah,
not final hardware, some sort of debug, I believe, is the situation. But also
prototype unit on the back or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, no hands-on time with no exposure whatsoever to Series X games so far. It sounds like. This was purely for backwards compatibility stuff. Back compat. There you go.
Yeah.
Back compat.
Bunch of he put up a video with Michael Hyam from GameSpot. There's other benchmarks out there as well on stuff.
I watched the Digital Foundry one.
Were they? I didn't really look too much. Like it seemed like they were more focused on frame rate and stuff. For
totally
backwards,
less resolution.
Yeah, and like Bakalar seemed like he was focusing more on the quick resume, suspend stuff, and the loading times and stuff like that. But I did see there's basically they tested a bunch of Xbox One X games with unlocked for frame rates at 4K, and they were all just like locked 60 on this thing, where they were like struggling to get over 30 on the One X. So like obviously that stuff's pretty good. But
that's cool.
Yeah, exciting.
But some of that Bakalar footage, like they were switching between like Ori and Red Dead 2 in like 9-10 seconds or something.
Yeah.
Suspending one and then unsuspending the other and switching over to it, stuff like that. So like that stuff looks like it works pretty well.
I'm still not sure. I mean, it's just when I think about the way I play games and how I tend to only play one, maybe two, I don't know that doesn't sound like that big of a deal. I guess like it's. I think that's one of those things that you're not going to know until you get it into your own home and integrate it into the way you play games. Sure. But just like looking at that stuff, I'm like, oh, that's cool. It seems like it works a lot better than the resume suspend stuff did on this generation of consoles. Mm-hmm. But
I really hope they just like wrote that stuff into the TCR or whatever, the technical requirements for game certification this time. Just like, hey, make sure that you handle like server disconnections gracefully when people suspend and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the stuff that made that stuff bad last generation needs to be addressed. Right. But like maybe that'll be a big surprise when I am using like final hardware and all that other stuff. It'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this actually matters. But like right now, looking at it, it seems so theoretical. Where it's like, yeah, this technically is super impressive.
Yeah,
and I don't want to deny that. But at the same time, like that doesn't seem like it integrates to the way I play games. I don't know if that's all that cool, but we'll see.
Yeah, like the current not a drop for me either. But
I could
the frame rate and stuff. I think that's really cool. You know, that's
absolutely
Like I saw, it was like I forget which Dead or Alive, but I guess it was the newest one.
6, I think is what it is.
DOA 6, like Rise of the Tomb Raider, some other games that like Hitman that had unlocked frame rates that were pretty chunky on the One X, and they're all just like full performance. So that stuff's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's like a continuation of what they did with the Xbox One X and all that stuff, where it's like, oh, by virtue of us finding ways to just have this apply to games in a broad sense, like they can just do it again with more power. Like that's neat.
They said 100% of Xbox One games work. Is that right?
I want to say they're like, are they saying that, or is it like one of those like 99%? Because I know the Sony stuff got real.
So
weird.
Yeah, there was that Eurogamer story last week that seemed to reaffirm the whole PS5, PS4
top 100 game stuff.
That like it's only the like the thing Cerny said basically, that they seemed like they tried to walk back. Apparently, like now that's actually the case, that it's only the top 100 that are guaranteed on day one to be backwards compatible or something like that.
Well, plus like some number of games that are getting certed after a certain day, the same way the Pro was. Like there was a cutoff date for when before the PlayStation Pro came out, where they're like, hey, if you're sending your game in for cert as of this date, it needs to work on a Pro.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily need to work better on a Pro, but it can't work worse.
Right.
And I assume that they would do something similar with the PS5.
Yeah.
But also, I think they then kind of came out and said that they expect stuff to run like or like what is out there, like, because did they walk this back again and say actually
I feel like the Sony messaging has been so back and forth on so many things at this point that
it seems like what would happen is it will, like, more than that will work.
I think that's but not guaranteed.
You talk about guaranteed, like that sort of stuff is you know, that's maybe a different story. I don't know. It's strange. And they should be better about messaging their stuff, because their stuff is fine.
Yeah,
because they're the ones that they're the ones that I got out there and said, like, hey, top 99% of games should work and all that other stuff too.
Let's hope so.
So like this, kind of getting out there with the top 100 stuff again is weird, but I suspect when that thing comes out, that situation will be fine, unless you play some small handful of games that don't work. Like, even around the name change stuff. Remember that list of like, here's stuff that will straight up break. And then what was it? The weird combat driving game that came out last year. I can't remember the name of it now.
Came out last year. Onrush.
Onrush. That was on the list of like, hey, there's something broken about this if you change your name. And I changed my name and it seemed fine. So I don't, may even be a case where they're saying like, oh, we know that this 99% of games work, but at the end of the day, they're talking about like, oh, one texture doesn't load right in here. Like I'm not, I guess the point being, I'm not concerned about the backwards compatibility stuff on PS5 for PS4. I'm sure that'll work out and be fine. It's not.
Watching Bacalar's video, it looks like you can suspend 5 games at once on Series X.
Wasn't it a different number if they were 360 games or something like that? I think it was like as much as the RAM would hold.
Yeah, I would assume that would be the case, because you're going to save way less memory out to disk. Stuff seems cool. Like I used Suspend to play through Last of Us 2, and all the hours I spent with Ghost of Tsushima. Like I think I didn't like You ever? Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on if you guys use Resume, but you ever do that thing where it's like, oh, I just realized the first time I booted this game is still the only time I have booted this game. You know, it's like the first time I started this, I have just been suspending that same session for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I manually close games every time when I'm done because I don't want to lose saves. I don't trust it. I've been burned too many times by it that I have been like tasered into submission on that feature and just been like, I don't trust it. I don't want to fucking use it. Yep. I manually quit Xbox One games. I open the fucking menu, go down, hit quit, and all that stuff. Just I don't trust it. They've got a lot of rep to earn with this feature if they want me to use it.
I get the paranoia, but single player only Sony first party games have been pretty good in my experience.
I'm sure.
So in addition to some of that testing, Microsoft put out a little FAQ about the expandable storage for the Series X.
Yes.
A price had leaked a little while back, and it was high enough that a lot of people were like, nah, there's no way that's real. And then this FAQ posted, and in fact, it was real. The price is $220 for that 1
terabyte, right?
For that 1 terabyte card that you can just stick right in the back of the Series S or X.
Which is not that far off from what that type of storage, storage at the type of speed, would run you.
Yes,
on the PC side, right?
A similar drive on PC is about $200 as of right now. So, and like the fact is, what's that, Brett? Say it again.
What's the technology?
Yeah, it's
NVMe.
NVMe, yes. Non-volatile memory express. Cool. They answer some questions in the fact that like you would want to know about. I mean, they do it in like very kind of vague marketing speak, but let me see if I can find like one of the questions. Will all storage expansion cards come from Seagate, or could we see them from other companies as well? They paid some lip service to Seagate's storied history as an innovator in storage.
Is it an Iron Wolf?
Yeah, probably not. But they do say Xbox is continuing to invest in the expandable storage category with the goal of offering choice for Xbox fans, including additional capacities and implementations in the future. So, so that does not sound to me like they are going to treat this like some high margin, like profit driver, right? Where they're going to keep the price static for the duration of this console or whatever.
One would hope. I mean, yeah, if they're kind of matching market price or getting damn close to it for similarly, fast devices that work on the PC, I can't hate it. I can look at it and go like, that's a lot of money. Normally I would go like, oh, I want to get one of those because I want to see how well it works. And now I'm like, maybe totally. I'll wait until I fill this thing up and see how it goes from there.
Yeah. I saw like Jeff Grubb did some testing with moving games back and forth to external hard drives and SSDs, and that apparently is quite fast over like a good solid USB 3.1.
Yeah, like using like an external SSD, not one of these cards. Yeah,
just you have to move games back and forth to play them, which is a slight hassle, but like it was just a handful of seconds in a lot of cases to transfer the game.
That's cool. So, if they're fully using all the bus speed, all the crazy speed that USB 3 was supposed to give us, and all that, then hey, cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it sounds. You wouldn't be surprised if like there's a 2 terabyte version of this card a year from now, and then they drop the price on the 1 terabyte significantly.
You would hope
something like that. So yeah.
Like this, games aren't getting smaller unless you're Destiny 2, I guess, but the smart delivery can only save so much space, right? They can only do so much when it comes to just like, well, hey, these are 4K assets, like deal with it. It is what it is. We're going to patch in more maps, more content. This game is going to last 4 years. And by the end of that 4 years, there's going to be so much shit in here that you're going to take up a fifth of your basic hard drive. Like, it doesn't do Microsoft any good to make those things hard to acquire and make that problem harder for end users to solve, so like them, it's in their best interests to make that stuff as affordable as they can. Like, I don't think $200 is especially affordable, especially if you're out there buying an S and getting a 512 gigabyte. Like, that's almost a if you walk that through in your mind of like, how big are games getting? Okay, I get a 512S and then I have to spend an additional $200 to add a terabyte to it. Maybe I should just get an X. at that point.
Well, also, I think Hayam had a tweet about the occupied hard drive space. Even like the Series S has a terabyte SSD, but you only get like 800 of it to play with. So I don't know if anybody's looked at that with the S either. That's a lot to give over to an OS.
Well, like if you're suspending 5 games, you have to be able to write the contents of the memory out for each of those games. There's going to be a bunch of overhead for features like that, so that's understandable.
The S is only going to have 400 gigs to start with.
It's very possible. That's why I bring up those benchmarks of moving the games to the quote-unquote cold storage on an external drive, because those are cheap. Like you can get one of those, you can store, especially if you got data caps, you don't want to have to be re-downloading games all the time. Like you just get a big fat USB hard drive, store your extra games that way. It's a little clumsy. Like it's not a super elegant solution, but it sounds like a solution.
It depends on how the UI works for it and all that other stuff. I think that's the other thing is, we've known for a while, but like I think seeing this hit of content come out around these prototype units and just seeing the same old or a very similar UI to the Xbox One, I wish that they were doing something grander and more dramatic. At the same time, like when you think about what they're doing with backwards compatibility and how they're just like, no, that now this game runs at 60 and 4K, like. The naming starts to make even more sense because like this almost just seems like a continuation of the Xbox One line in a weird way, where it's like here's but it will play a new generation of games that the old hardware will not.
I think someone's up there. Right back. Sorry.
All right. But you almost end up in that like iPhone situation where you're just like, okay, this game's only coming out for devices running on this chip or more.
Yeah.
Like it really starts to look and feel a little bit more like that when they're just like it's a unified interface, all of it's super similar, and like they're not just leaving the Xbox One behind like conceptually or whatever. So
you have to assume there are going to be like indie games that are smaller in scope and have like lower requirements that are probably going to technically be able to run on a PS4 or an Xbox One for like years from now, like 3-4 years from now. There are still going to be like smaller 2D games that it could work just fine on both, right?
I wonder how easy it is as a developer to develop across like the multiple generations of Xbox that way. Are you just like, oh, well, we're making it technically is just an Xbox One game and we know it'll run on anything, or if there's some kind of weird, I wonder what that's like as a dev. If you wanted to do something like that.
Yeah, I would assume it has a lot to do with how much of other people's tech you're using. Like if you're using a lot of Microsoft tools or Unreal or whatever.
Right, or like how developed are Microsoft's tools to allow that type of like cross-generation deployment and all that other stuff? Like, is that a button press or is that something harder? I don't.
Yeah. God, those things are coming out like what's today? Like 5 weeks, I think. Is that right? 5 weeks? 5 weeks. I'm gonna say 6 weeks. Maybe. Let's
go.
Maybe 6 weeks, but it's getting real.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 weeks.
All right.
6 weeks.
Wild.
Yeah. A couple more quick stories about next gen stuff. Sounds like, how are we saying this? Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 8 Village, Resident Evil 8-age. 8-age. Is how I'm going to go.
Vadage?
I don't know. This came out of TGS. Also, TGS happened since last week.
So, yeah.
Snuck up on everyone probably, but it came out of TGS that Resident Evil 8 may be coming to PS4 and Xbox One. So, first party is not the only ones. Microsoft and Sony both been dabbling with this stuff, with first party games straddling generations, but they are not the only ones. Sounds like Capcom looking at it as well.
That seems like a safety play based on quantity of consoles available, the economy based on the pandemic, and all that stuff. But like we saw a lot of cross-gen games last time around.
Yeah,
I feel like that stuff lingered for a year. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily a huge focus, but like that stuff kind of lopes on in the background.
Yeah. There's still a small part of me that's like, man, I want some exclusives. Like I want more reasons to,
I get it,
to have this new console.
Yeah.
And it's not really a shadow of a doubt or anything like that, but it's just like, are they speccing it more towards, like last gen? Are they not really keeping the next the next gen like in mind? When they're developing this, or
I mean, if you
think about how long Resident Evil 8 has probably been in development, like
Sure.
those specs were up in the air in a way that probably didn't let them target next generation hardware directly. They kind of started thinking about current consoles plus. Right, I wonder.
Yes, that's exactly what those Capcom leaks say.
Yeah,
Capcom
so
leaks.
we'll get like that's. I think why we get that cycle of like you see these cross-gen games and maybe the cross-gen, like hey, maybe Gun doesn't run as well as as it did on the other, but like you see those situations where it's like the games are getting put out to both. I miss the weird days, and I don't actually miss these, but like I think about like Tony Hawk 3 for the PlayStation 1, where they were like, it was a separate team doing a separate port of the game where they're like, oh, what are you doing for the real version of the game? Okay, we are trying to approximate that experience, but because this is the PlayStation 1, this is this weird windy thing is now just a straight rail, and boy, these levels are way more empty and smaller.
It's like this weird game of telephone or like a cargo cult version of Tony Hawk 3, where it's like they heard about what the game was going to be and tried to approximate it.
Yeah, like that is way more interesting to me as like the weird like cross-gen situation where you end up with a somewhat exclusive version of the game, but not necessarily in good ways, but still interesting ways. Whereas I feel like now it's just like, hey, the frame rate is worse and the textures are trash, and like it's basically the same game. That's I'm sure a lot easier for developers to handle than to hand off a port to a totally separate team. But hey,
other next gen release news. Sony has come out and confirmed. God, this is a complicated situation. If you own Spider-Man on PS4, there will be no free upgrade to the PS5, like ray traced, super nice version of Spider-Man for PS5. And in fact, there will be no upgrade path at all. It sounds like you will straight up have to buy that Miles Morales Ultimate Edition to get that super enhanced version of Spider-Man, the original game.
I feel that.
Which they're not the first ones. Like Control went through this, and that was not received very well. But it's kind of.
I feel like it's a different situation when it's a first party.
Totally.
I feel like
why
it's
the story.
Yeah,
Microsoft committed to doing the opposite for all of their games. Right? They flat out said, any Xbox One game you own that gets a patch to run better on Series X, you will get that patch for free.
Yeah, for their first party stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It just feels like the situation where like Sony could throw people a bone on this.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know.
Think. I mean, I don't doubt it is a ton of work to do all this.
Yeah. But at least I mean, Miles Morales on its own is not a full priced product. Right. So even that enhanced edition is technically the base price of $70.
Yes. $70 for that full thing that has the original game in it. So also to clarify, you can still play the PS4 version of the original Spider-Man on a PS5. Like that does work. You just don't get you don't get the ray tracing and all the bells and whistles.
Stuff. I just give people the stuff.
Yeah. It would be a nice.
They're buying a PlayStation 5. You want them to buy a PlayStation 5. Like this feels like such a minor bone to throw.
Yeah. For the current console leader, it would be a nice gesture, I feel like, to your early adopters.
Even if you did it as a part of like, hey, this is a part of our weird PlayStation Plus list of games, and so if you're PlayStation Plus and this, maybe you get it. Like even that would be something. I don't know. This just. But also like. A lot of people bought Spider-Man for PS4, so like this doesn't
became like a PlayStation Hits, which it was like $20-$30 at that point.
So at that point, like everyone that buying a PS5 in the launch window probably had a PS4, probably already played Spider-Man because of how well it did, and there would be no one left to buy that expensive version of the game. I
also have not.
They should give this to people.
Yeah.
They're Sony. Like when it's like 505 and it's Control and all this other stuff, I go, yeah, they should do the right. They should do right. But it like, I don't know what their financials are like, and I don't know what Sony's financials are like. But I know that like they're trying to put a console out there and make it enticing. Like just.
Yeah, like how much revenue are you giving up? Like how many people do you actually think are going to rebuy this thing just to get?
Yeah.
You know,
but also maybe they're assuming like, hey, we're putting out 3 games, so people will probably buy the new Spider-Man anyway.
Yeah, fair.
And maybe this just won't matter. I feel like they could just bring it to the people,
sure,
that already bought the game.
Sure,
just hey, come on in. It just seems like such a minor thing to give to people, but maybe they're doing a ton of work to it and it was super expensive for them to do. I don't know, like maybe they have to attach money to it because that project was way harder than we know of.
Also,
I don't know.
It is a licensed property for what it's worth.
Oh,
who knows if there's some deal in place that requires it? Who knows?
You're right.
Yeah.
I bet at some point licensing fucks this up and makes this more complicated.
Entirely possible.
So we own Spider-Man anyway, so they're licensing.
No, they don't. They have the film rights to but they do not own the character. Also, I have not gotten used to. In fact, I kind of just realized the knock-on effect of games moving to $70 means that the budget, not full-priced games are now $50, which sure sounds emotionally or psychologically kind of close to a full-price game.
It is close to a full price game.
Also,
like 40 was like a third off.
Right.
You're like, okay, all right, 2/3 of a price for
right. When Uncharted Lost Legacy came out for $40, I was like, this is a fucking hell of a game for $40. This is fantastic, and like, it's only $10 more, but that's kind of a big $10 if that makes sense.
Operation Big $10,
right? Also, apparently $50 on PS4 as well, so they're not even like saying it's it's not even purely a next gen surcharge.
Even get on the train, baby. Let's fucking roll.
Even last gen games are going up $10 apparently at this point. So here we are.
Get out to $70 town.
Yeah.
Let's fucking hit it.
That's right.
Gross.
Yeah. A few more news stories here. They canceled Among Us 2 because Among Us 1 is so damn big. They're just going to keep working on that.
That's nuts. That's actually a really good gesture.
It is so fucking weird to me that Among Us is now in that slot that Fortnite is in, and like, I guess Rocket League and Minecraft, where like if it makes news, we have to talk about it because it's like the biggest game out there right now. Because that game is like, I mean, it's a cool game. Like I enjoyed playing it. It was fun streaming that, but like, it's pretty slight. Like it's just crazy to go on Twitch and see Among Us being like, by fucking far the most streamed game on Twitch right now, like by a lot.
They won the indie game lottery, like for sure.
Like more than Fortnite, more than like League, anything else up there. Like Among Us is.
Fall Guys still up there?
What's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think that this is gonna? Do you think this crushes Fall Guys? Is this the end of Fall Guys? Is his run?
I don't know.
As the game that people keep talking about, despite it not being that great.
Fall Guys is currently.
Discord app has had like a huge increase in installs on phones because everybody's playing this on phones, or playing it, I guess, with Discord in some fashion. So apparently, the knock-on effect here is that it's also made Discord way more popular than it was. So it's a weird thing.
Fall Guys is currently, I'm not counting here, but in the 4th row of the top streamed games on Twitch right now.
It's 1 p.m. on a Tuesday. That's probably not. Yeah,
I played it briefly last week, and like the match did not fill up as fast as I thought it might. Let's say, but I mean, whatever. They got more content coming. Like maybe people are just kind of burnt out on season 1. But
if they fixed the way it felt to feel better, I think that would be a solid step. Like the jump, everything. It's like is it happening server side? What the hell's happening? Like there's just such a mushiness to the movement in it that it's like, why? Anyway,
I hear you. Anyway, they're just going to keep improving Among Us, is what I was trying to say. They say they are working on colorblind support. They are working on their servers. They're working on an account system. I'm not sure.
That gets them to the crossplay, probably.
Oh, sure. Yes, of course. And new stages. They say the first new stage will be a Henry Stickmin-themed location, which apparently is a game on Steam that they also made. That I'm not familiar with. The game's cool.
I hear good stuff. That game causes me to have major anxiety.
Because you never know when somebody's lying to you.
I know, and I'd have trouble lying to people, and I just
I'm not sure I found it all that pleasant either. I didn't really click for me, so it's not for everybody. Yeah. I know the people who love it there seem to just be totally head over heels. So
yes.
I mean, millions of people are on there on Twitch now or something like that. It was 6 million, something I heard something.
I just
across all platforms or something.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. There's just like 350,000 people watching on Twitch right now.
Wow.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's pretty big.
That's such a cool story.
Yeah.
That they,
especially for a game that's been out for so long. Like usually it's like a Fall Guys or whatever. It just came out, like they whipped up all their buzz during their beta. And then the game came out and blew up, but this game's just been sitting there for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I wonder. I imagine that like they probably have some ideas that when we're scheduled for Among Us 2, that they're like, oh, if we can just roll this back into the game people are already playing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they said in that press release. It's like, hey, we'll put it on Among Us 1. Don't want to fracture the fan base or whatever.
Yes. Real quick, couple more things here. Mike Morheim and his wife Amy. He is the co-founder of Blizzard, are starting a new game company called Dreamhaven, which is like kind of a collective.
The collective is back, baby.
Yeah. How long ago did he leave Blizzard? Like a year
it's
ago?
been a couple years, let's say, year and a half, something like that. But
took a sabbatical.
It's kind of
a little bit.
Dreamhaven, from my read on this, is it's like kind of an umbrella organization. They are founding studios within it. Yes, it's the Umbrella.
Okay.
It's the Umbrella Corporation. They are founding 2 studios to start, at least, called Moonshot and Secret Door, and it sounds like Dreamhaven's going to provide kind of central services for them and any other developers that start up under this model.
Cool.
Are they based in
Irvine,
SoCal?
Yes,
Irvine. Okay,
yeah.
So immediately, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So the Morheims are self-funding it for now.
Yep. They made a lot of money from Activision.
I would assume so.
Yeah, jeez.
But the big story here is that all the names attached to these studios they are founding are like big Blizzard names. Like, full on
Arthas.
That's right. Arthas,
Jim Raynor.
That's right. Arthas founded Moonshot.
Olaf. Like they're all here.
That's right.
Well, when I was living in Irvine, I mean, we were right up the street, and my roommate at the time worked for Blizzard and said after the Activision purchase, they were very protective of the Blizzard name. And over time, like they would even take down the Activision Blizzard placards people put up and replace them with just Blizzard at E3 and stuff like that. Yeah. But over time, apparently the Activision pressure to make, crank out games and make more money was really, really weighing heavily on people. And quality has gone down at Blizzard. Nobody's happy. Let
me just read you this quote from Morheim that he gave to VentureBeat.
Okay.
We're almost trying to create a haven for creators who want an environment that is development friendly, values product and player experience over short-term financial pressures.
Yeah. That's called subtweeting.
I think it's pretty clear what the genesis of this whole thing was.
Just what I've heard from inside Blizzard is just very unhappy with the Activision overview, and eventually, what was that story somebody said about don't kill the golden goose? No, like the golden goose got to be fattened up or something. Was that Activision Blizzard, or was that something else entirely?
That was something you put in the Bammer, right. I think.
Yeah.
Put that one in the Bammer.
So that'll be really interesting to see if they have, maybe the 2 years was non-compete or something like that, or I don't know if they had that kind of stuff. But
but I mean, they
now they can start.
Oh, sorry. Well,
now they can start poaching right away.
They have. I mean, the names they've attached to these studios are like full on like Blizzard brain drain almost. Like, Moonshot is being founded by Jason Chase, who was a head Hearthstone guy. Ben Thompson, who worked on, I believe, WoW. And Dustin Browder, who was the director of StarCraft 2, and also directed like Command and Conquer Generals and Battle for Middle-earth, like longtime RTS guy. That Browder is like one of the smartest people in game development that I have ever interviewed. It was always just fascinating talking to that dude about game design stuff. And then Secret Door is being founded by Chris Siggety, who you might know as the guitarist of Level 80 Elite Tauren Chieftain, or the house band.
Oh, nice.
At Blizzard.
Nice. It's level 120 now.
They'll probably have a band, won't they?
They probably will. But he was also, like, he was the producer of StarCraft 2. Like, I've interviewed him as well on that game. Alan Dabiri, who I remember from, let's see, I mean, all these guys worked on Warcraft 3 like they were all longtime Blizzard guys. So, I mean, this is just full on, like, let's get everybody who didn't want to stay at Blizzard under this new regime and just fucking go indie.
I'd be curious to see what they do. They didn't talk about their game genres or anything.
No, they don't say anything about what kind of games they're making yet. I mean, you know, they're not even like moving into an office, obviously, because of the pandemic. So they say they'll.
Well, it's going to be weird for Blizzard. I mean, Obsidian has Microsoft money now, and they've definitely committed to expanding that. I'm assuming they're going to. And so Blizzard is within, you know, a mile of Oblivion or Obsidian, and probably wherever these new places are going. So you really have to worry about. And for a long time, Blizzard was always, I think, known as being. When me and my coworker went to game dev conferences at Obsidian, they always had the biggest line for like projective, like people wanted their art reviewed and things like that. And like, how do I get hired at Blizzard? They were always the massive one. And what I've heard now, 10 years later, that's no longer really the case. Like the pay is kind of okay compared to the rest of the industry.
Yes,
so
some stuff has come out about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so they might. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna just start making games with interns, but quality level has gone down for Blizzard. I mean, I used to love every game they put out, but it's no longer really the case. So I'm really curious if they have a further exodus. But
I want to see what Diablo 4 ends up being like.
Yeah.
I think you know that's the that to me is the game that kind of is like, where is Blizzard at these days? You know, when that comes out, that I think that'll tell you one way or the other, like if they're still capable of pulling it off, or if you know, stuff like this and just, you know, whatever else has been going on at that studio is going to really weigh on the quality even further. They're still going to put Overwatch. Yeah, it's like, you know, Overwatch 2 is still going to happen at some point too, right? Like,
yes,
yeah. Remember they said that?
Yes,
like that's weird, but they're doing it. Yeah. Blizzard, man. I don't know. Yeah. I got an email. I now, like the same day the studio got announced, I got an email from someone who was in PR at Blizzard saying, "This is my last day at Blizzard. I'm staying in the game industry, and I'm staying in SoCal. You'll hear from me soon." And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like,
it could mean anything.
Could have gone anywhere. But
yes.
But it was interesting timing to have all that happen. I was like.
I mean, everybody down there has a lunch at the Spectrum in Irvine, so it's always everybody knows everybody else. There's a lot of game dev mixer kind of stuff. So, if I was in HR at Blizzard, I would be really thinking hard about bonuses and pay increases. But what do I know?
Yes. Last couple stories, real quick. What do y'all make of this Virtua Fighter tweet?
I don't know.
I'm gonna read.
There was an insert coin noise, and I got chills. And then the esports happened. And I didn't know what to make of it.
The tweet, this came out of TGS. The tweet isn't Japanese. To be fair, this is the Google Translate translation. So,
okay,
you know, a little rough, but here's what it says. The monumental tower of the case game is finally back in esports. Virtua Fighter Cross Esports Project announced. Virtua Fighter, which was born as the world's first 3D fighting game in 1993, will be restarted in Japan to commemorate the 60th anniversary of Sega's establishment. Stay tuned for future updates. And yeah, they've got a little trailer here, but there's no game in there.
Yeah, nothing whatsoever.
So remember they did that. They did a game that they referred to as Puyo Puyo Esports.
Huh.
And they put it out on PS4 and Switch back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's potentially, this might not be a new game, I guess, is what I'm saying. Is like, you know, what if this ends up being a re-release of the last VF, which I don't even think that last patch, the last like expansion pack style patch that
made
they did
to like consoles.
I don't think they did it on consoles at all. So
that was like 7 years ago, though, right? It was
it's been a fucking while. Yeah. And so I wonder if this will end up being something like that, where they'll just call it Virtua Fighter Esports or Virtua Fighter Champions or something, which is what they refer to that game elsewhere. And if it ends up just being, hey, it's the last VF re-released with netcode or re-released with, you know, something that's going to help make it more competitive or something like that, like, or maybe, hey, it's a full-on new fucking VF game, which would be potentially cool as well.
Hey, Shenmue 3's out. Yu Suzuki's got some time on his hands now, right?
Yeah, totally. Get him back in the lab, and you know, help him
do some mocap.
Make it happen.
Like, VF5 was a 360 game, right? Like that was not even this generation of consoles, was it?
Right. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And then was it like VF5 Final Tuned? I think was the last one of those.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Right. Was that like digital only or something? If I remember,
Final Tuned might not have come home at all. Actually,
Final Tuned. I'm unfamiliar with.
Or was that a VF4 update? But Final Showdown is the last VF5.
Final Showdown. Okay.
Is there enough passion around Virtua Fighter out there at this point? Like, you remember back in the day, like that was the only fucking thing that mattered in Japan for a while.
Totally.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that was the impression I got was it was just like far and away the biggest game in Japan.
Yeah, Final Tuned was a VF4 upgrade.
Okay.
But you definitely, that was what you heard all the time. Like, one of the big thrills I had of when we started going to Japan a lot was like when VF4 came out, because I still maintain that VF3 is a fucking terrible game.
It's really good though.
Yeah, that stairs, bad shadows. But like VF4 was coming out or was out right around the time that I was, that we were going to Japan to cover events a lot. And I got into VF4 way more than I had gotten into any other VF, and to go to Japan and beat people in an arcade at a Virtua Fighter game was fucking badass, man. That was like some fucking yeah, man. I'm here doing it. Which, who knows who the person playing? But yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's just start chain smoking. But yeah, you would go to the top floor of a lot of arcades, or at least a lot of the arcades that I was going to. They'd be like, here's this 4-story building, and to get smaller and smaller, but you get up to the top and it's 6 VF machines, and that's all that's up there. And it's like, here's your Virtua Fighter floor. That's after
the final boss right there.
Yeah, exactly. And years after they were making new Virtua Fighters and stuff like that, you could still, like, that floor was still there for Virtua Fighter players.
Floor VF.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, that was also, I still have my cards for VFNet.
I was gonna say,
you didn't have to, but you could buy a card, and you would tap it to the machine, and it would log you in and pick your character. You'd only have one character per card, so if you played multiple characters, you had to have multiple cards if you wanted to track the records. And then there was a mobile phone app. This was pre-iPhone, that you could get the VFNet app on. And you would get currency for playing, and you would unlock cool hats and shit for your characters that way. But you could only customize the character on a phone, and I didn't have a phone, so I was never able to actually customize my character. And it was
someday
a bummer.
Was that the genesis of hats in video games? Was that the first appearance of hats?
First hats. I'm gonna say probably not.
Okay,
but they were They were hats.
Yeah. I love some good hats. Did I hear that Club Sega in Akihabara closed?
Yes.
Supposedly, yeah.
Man, that sucks. Yeah. That fucking sucks.
I don't even think the Mr. Donut is there anymore. Yeah, I know it caught on fire at one point, but they might have rebuilt it. But
as long as I can get my Moss Burger, that's all I want when I go back.
I think they will have that for you for sure.
Yeah,
plenty of those. Last story. Get your jokes ready. They're shutting down Farmville.
What?
December 31st of this year.
No!
Farmville is buying the farm.
Are Facebook still a thing? Do people do those still? I haven't heard of a Facebook.
They're actually apparently shutting it down because that's when Adobe is sunsetting Flash.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
They are no longer going to update or support Flash. And so they are not going to bother porting Farmville to anything else.
Never going to sell my phone or my browser.
That's right. Yes, get your eBay.
However you play it, I have no idea.
eBay auction.
I got PT installed on this copy of Netscape Communicator.
Yep. Don't worry, Farmville 3 is coming to mobile soon.
Thank God.
Yes.
So yes.
Thank goodness.
Can we get some strikes on a YouTube video because of Farmville cheats?
Wait, really?
Oh yeah,
one of those Farmville videos we did got taken off of YouTube, not because it had cheating in it, but because the name of it was like cheating at Farmville or something like that, and they struck it even though there was no actual cheating in it.
Great, good stuff.
Matt Kessler got us a YouTube strike and our biggest YouTube video.
That's
so
right.
It balances out.
You gotta
finding all the artifacts. I think is our biggest video.
You gotta bet big to win big.
It's true.
I look at YouTube comments fairly regularly, and every once in a while, there'll be somebody will find that Daedric Artifact Skyrim video or like a press conference from 2013 and have something really snarky to say about it. Like, you guys don't know how to play the game. Like, it's 7 years ago, buddy. Or more. The Skyrim was more like 10, right? Or 8.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
About 9. It came out in 2011, so yeah.
Welcome all your comments on our YouTube content. Just maybe look at the date and see if the return on your time investment is worthwhile.
Yes, indeed. All right, that's it for news. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with some emails. See you in a second. Matt Rory, during the break, you talked of a big lunch, and I wondered if you might expand on that.
I usually eat as soon as
how big it is.
Yeah. Oh, I can expand on it for sure. I usually eat when I get up. I have a little soup or a little rice-a-roni single pack thing. Some hot good in me before the day gets really hot.
Okay.
The only thing about this area is we were trying to eat in more, just go out less.
Smart.
Buy more stuff and have it in the freezer and everything like that. But there is a Subway nearby, which is like for. This isn't a food desert. It's a every food but taco desert. If you want tacos,
so it's a taco desert.
There is a lot of tacos around here.
Oh no, sorry, it's the other way around. Yes.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of tacos here, but Subway's like the only thing that's not tacos in like a good long radius around me. So I might just get a big ass Subway sandwich for lunch. Hey, how about that?
All right. How about
Do you still have the meat guy that comes by?
Yeah, chorizo guy.
Cool.
Do you want some?
Yes, I always want the chorizo. It'd be hard to. Let's wait till after the COVID.
Yeah,
and then we'll go back to chorizo orders.
Yeah, chorizo guy comes by. He also has unpasteurized eggs and what I believe the Mexican persuasion calls queso fresco. I guess it is. It's like that soft, crumbly cheese.
Yeah,
he's got.
Yeah. Just reminded me of the tamale guy from downtown from many years ago.
Tamale Lady's restaurant, I think. I'm not sure if she ever got that off the ground, but there's a few different tamale guys.
Yeah.
Someday we will all be the tamale guy.
That's right.
Sure.
We all get our turn. I'm looking forward to it.
There are a couple street guys who go by. One with the ice cream, and another guy has a bunch of chicharrones. I had water in my mouth. Goes by like corn. There's a elote guy. So if you want some street food, they'll bring it around off the cart. So
real Chewbacca vibe when you try to roll your R's.
I gotta wait. That's the way it goes.
Yes. Well, I don't have any tamales, which is very sad for me, but I do have a lot of emails here. So
the opposite of tamales,
right? Pretty much. Yes. Instead of eating tamales, I'm going to read these emails, which means I really fucked up somewhere. But bombcast@giantbomb.com is the address. And I will begin with Devin from Saskatchewan. Is it Regina or Regina?
Yeah,
I think
Regina.
It's Regina, Saskatchewan, right? Did Microsoft and every other big publisher just prove that E3 press conferences are a waste of resources and likely do not need to exist? I think it's crazy that there wasn't an Inside Xbox or some kind of event last Monday where the Bethesda purchase was announced, especially with pre-orders going up the very next day. In the last week or so, Microsoft has announced the existence of the Series S, the price and release dates for the Series S and X, EA Play coming to Game Pass, and the acquisition of goddamn Bethesda all through Twitter. That would have made the best Microsoft E3 press conference in a decade, and instead they just posted it on Twitter. That's wild shit. They're already getting all the buzz and headlines. How would E3 have made this more visible? Do you think Microsoft or any of the remaining participants even see the value in E3 at this point? Where are you all at with this now?
Yeah, no, I think in a mainstream sense, there's no need for E3. Like the information gets out there one way or the other, and will filter out to the people that need to hear it.
Yeah.
E3.
Do you think USA Today picked it up? Did they run a story on?
Probably.
On this
they may have. I saw like the
Who knows?
front page of CNN had some of that stuff as it was happening.
Like Washington Post has a full-time games reporter now. You know, like the mainstream news is covering games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like. I think that information gets out there. I think what happens when you don't have E3 is smaller companies and smaller publishers that would benefit from being clustered together to make their announcements. I think they get lost in the shuffle. Microsoft doesn't have a problem getting the word out, like Sony can get the word out. It's not a thing. It's like, what is 505 Games going to do? What is even Sega going to do? Some of these publishers that have a hard time kind of maybe attracting eyeballs to some of their announcements. Like enthusiasts see it. They're like, oh, the dates and stuff for Yakuza Like a Dragon got announced or whatever, like that information's out there. Like the people that are tuned in and focused on that stuff see it. But in terms of like it may be getting more eyeballs than you would get otherwise, like I think that's where E3 can still provide some value.
Sure. The unfortunate problem for the small developers is they don't really have much say, because if the Microsofts and Sonys pull out, then that's it for E3, right?
Right, and it'd be very easy in a lot of cases, I think, for the hardware makers to hold their own shows and include a lot of those third-party announcements as a part of it. And they can only fit so much into a press conference. But if, like, let's say Microsoft were to say, like, hey, we've got a week of press conference style announcements, we're going to do a week of live shows, that could hold a lot of different people. But now we'll see how it goes. I mean, if this becomes a content fight for who's on what streaming platform, then, like, does Amazon have upfronts basically and say, here are the games we're going to have in the fall season, here are the channels we're adding to Luna? Like, does it shift into something like that as opposed to an E3? Like, I think there's a lot of room to move and a lot of room to kind of write that new way now that I think people will be a little more likely to look at.
Do we ever set foot in another E3?
I don't know.
No. I have no idea. No idea. It seems.
Yeah, I don't know what it is anymore.
It seems like it seems like it would happen. I think if you were, the people that are on the board of that thing, the advisory panel, whatever it is, I think you're like, after this is over, you're like, no, we got to do it again, and then you do one more, and then maybe you're like,
maybe we didn't.
Don't get a lot of buy-in on that one, and then maybe that's it. I mean, obviously, the length of the pandemic is going to affect that quite a bit.
Yeah,
like it seems entirely possible.
Oh, I would not expect to see an E3 2021 at this point.
Yes.
I guess,
yes,
if that's the question.
Yes, definitely. For sure. Let's see here. Niv from Orlando wrote in. On the recent Bombcast, you mentioned considering making a throwaway Facebook account to use with your Oculus. Just so you know, as someone who has experience dealing with them, they fucking hate throwaway duplicate accounts. Facebook may not consider itself the arbiter of truth for things like news and advertising, but if you open two accounts or use a fake name, they will kill that account permanently. This will also permanently revoke access to your purchases, and you'll need a real unbanned account to use your headset again unless someone jailbreaks it.
That's a good point.
Cool.
Facebook has really clamped down. I remember the story up here was drag queens who had their own pages under their drag names were all getting shut down. And a lot of people lose a lot of stuff. Like there's no warning. It's kind of like, hey, you're gone. So they're not tying in Facebook to Oculus to have people get around that. You can make your own fake account or a real account with your real name and just not do anything with it except for Oculus. But honestly, it's delete Facebook time anyways. So.
Yeah, except I have
for work.
Yeah, well, I think I came to the realization last week is, we're creeping up on the Quest 2 launch and thinking about some of those, some of that stuff. I was like, oh, right. Like if they're migrating Facebook accounts into the Oculus Flow completely, which I think mine's already tied together anyway, then if I want to do anything with any Oculus hardware or software, then I will need a Facebook account. Like it's... And they've got my account flagged for like preview access to stuff in some cases and all that. Like that's how they control access to it for coverage. So that kind of is what it is. So it was that realization, which was like, oh, I don't think I'm actually ever going to be able to delete my Facebook account because of that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And
For me, I'd like to delete it and make a new account with my name on it for things like events and for the work, managing the work Facebook page. But I don't even know if I could do that because I know you have to deactivate it for like 30 days and not log in.
Well, think about it this way. Like, like they're probably not actually deleting any of your data anyway. So like if deleting an account and creating a new one, I don't think that solves anything.
Yeah, can't you could probably just cut your existing account down to the bone, right? Strip all the data off and just not use it for anything besides
California,
that?
the privacy law for California that passed the beginning of this year was a little more, it's not GDPR level, right to be forgotten kind of stuff, but it is pretty intense compared to what was there before. So they probably do have a legal obligation to delete stuff that you like, not just.
Oh, I'm sure they have a legal obligation.
Yeah. Can't wait.
But, it ends up being a situation where it's like, oh, we anonymize that data, but also, hey, the social graph still links to it in a weird way, and it's like in some back end somewhere, you're still there. I
can't wait to hear see the expose that they didn't abide by any of that stuff.
You have a Facebook account, even if you've never logged into Facebook. I mean, they make these like shadow accounts for people.
Yeah.
So
why would they, even if they shadow your old data, like it still at some point probably gets linked to your new pseudo burner account. I don't know. An old roommate of mine made a fake Facebook account on one of my many email addresses. And I still occasionally get email to that address in his like fake Facebook account name, like from Facebook. So, like it's somehow survived forever. Like it's still there. He is no longer here to log into it, but like I still get Facebook notifications in the name of whatever dumb fake name he put into it. And so whenever people talk about how like, oh, they shut down all these fake accounts, I'm like, if I log into this other email over here, I get weekly emails from Facebook talking about like hot events in your area.
I mean, the weird thing is, I'm sure the number of people who are turned off from Oculus because of this specific thing is pretty low, just because everybody uses Facebook and doesn't seem to have too many problems with it. But if I was buying something now, I definitely would go for the, whatever Steam is putting out. Index, probably.
I think the catch there, and why I haven't done something like that is the index requires you to hang stuff on a wall. I think that's probably a better tracking solution than the inside out tracking that you get with a Quest and some of the other different headsets. Like the Index seems like a great piece of technology, but I don't have the room for it. Yeah. I can kind of make do with a Quest. I can kind of make room for a Quest, and because it's wireless, there are situations where I could maybe like clear some space in the garage and do some stuff with it or whatever that I'm just never going to be able to do with an Index unless I migrate my entire PC setup to a larger space that I just don't have right now. So it's not quite as easy as just buy the other headset. But I'm also 1,000% unwilling to hang lighthouses on my walls because of the shape of this room and the depth of this room and all that other stuff. Like it would be pointless. It would be like I'm spending $1,000 or whatever to do seated only VR that I can pretty much do well with a Quest.
Yeah, better consult your Feng Shui master too. I hear it really ups the energy.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Well, shit. Now I have to read this email. That was enough of a segue. I was going to save this one for later, but I'll read it now. It's from Woody in Santa Cruz, California. He used a very small font, so forgive me. It's the magic of HTML emails. Curious about Nintendo's internal feelings on Super Mario Galaxy 2 following its exclusion from 3D All-Stars. I found a quote from 3D Land director Koichi Hayashida comparing Super Mario Galaxy 2 to the Manchu Han Imperial Feast, which is a historical, days-long royal banquet of legendary proportions held in China of antiquity, whereas they aimed to model Mario 3D Land after a fast food chain hamburger.
Nice.
So chew on that one for a second.
Okay.
I would love to.
Not long after this, I heard Ben asserting on the podcast that Captain Crunch was the Super Mario 64 of breakfast cereals. The challenge at this point is obvious. Definitively assign a spirit meal to each game in the mainline Super Mario Brothers series. For your reference, there are, excluding handheld remakes, compilations, and the new series. And here's a giant list. Here's a giant list. We should probably just stream of consciousness this one and not think about it too hard. What food is Super Mario Brothers?
It's like meat and potatoes.
Okay. All right. It's like a roast. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Super Mario Brothers 2: The Lost Levels.
So it's some veggie something.
I think that game is like spoiled. It's like rancid milk. It's like a spoiled.
It's like it's meat and potatoes, but the meat is like so overcooked. It is just this grizzled, disgusting mess.
It is Super Mario.
The Lost Levels.
Super Mario Brothers 2 is food poisoning. Super Mario Brothers 2 US stewed turnips.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking we were doing. Okay.
Super Mario Brothers 3.
Really, really
coon.
What's that?
Like gourmet pizza.
Okay. Yeah,
you ever eat a raccoon?
People like caviar or something like that.
No, I like the pizza. That's a good one. I don't know about gourmet pizza, though. I don't know if... Let's just say some very good pizza.
Nominated. It's not sealed yet, so anybody else can come up with something better. Probably can.
Super Mario
I was
World.
going to say gourmet pizza makes sense because gourmet pizza is usually disappointing in a weird way.
Oh.
Where you're like, this is awesome.
That game's great.
Maybe I could have done better.
That game's pretty good. Well, they did better. They made Super Mario World.
Hell yeah, they did. That's the pizza you should have got instead of the one you got.
Yep.
For Mario 3.
Super Mario World is a giant table full of donuts and
butter.
What are all the worlds? What are all the worlds in that game? I bet. Let's see. Oh, they're not all food based. I thought they were.
They're not. No, they're not quite.
There's donut. Well, this says Donut Land. I thought it was Donut Plains. Yeah.
Donut Plains is a level. Donut Land might be the world, or the island.
There's Vanilla Dome and Chocolate Island, but that's about it.
Okay.
It's my favorite Limp Bizkit album.
Yes. I don't know if we can make it through all these. This is going to get a little too free association, maybe, unless you guys want to keep going. Also,
I'm so hungry.
I know.
This hurts so bad.
The timing of this podcast is unfortunate as far as lunch goes.
Yeah.
Also, we have Super Mario 64 on that list, which I thought we already established is Captain Crunch. John and Tulsa.
Captain Crunch.
It's pretty
game
good.
Changer.
It's pretty good. I would eat some right now. John and Tulsa, what's a better name for a Super Mario 64 sequel? Super Mario 64 2 or Super Mario 65?
I think it depends on how much of like a wink and a nod, like how much of a cheeky asshole you're being about it.
If I was going to be a cheeky asshole about it, I would call it Super Mario 128.
Well, that's a whole different game, man.
Geez.
That's a whole different quality of product. Now you're playing with fucking giga power. You know what? Like you just.
Apparently, I looked it up after I read this email because I only knew Super Mario 128 as that tech demo from what was the Space World, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like a GameCube. I think it was a GameCube tech demo.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Apparently, there were actual games in production called Super Mario 128, or at least codenamed that at one point.
Yeah, that was the thing. I feel like that was the weird thing that like IGN, because they were very N64 heavy because they bought N64.com or IGN 64, whatever it was. They like it seemed like they were always reporting on it. Is this Mario 128? And it never really. It was like, yeah, maybe it's something they're developing under that name, but no, it's clearly not a continuation of the tech demo.
Yeah.
It's always a weird, because there will always be a picture of the tech demo in the article, and you're like, weird.
Supposedly, the codenamed project was in development for the 64 DD. So, yeah, if they ever make a sequel to Mario 64, it should be called that.
Super Mario 64 DD.
Yes, exactly. That's That's the one. This email is going to fall incredibly flat if nobody has heard the song, but Ryan in New Hampshire wants to know what's worse, Fast and Furious Crossroads or that new Vin Diesel song. So anybody listened?
Fast and Furious Crossroads.
Oh,
okay.
Is significantly worse. I've only heard the bits of the song that were in that clip that looked like the credits of Tim and Eric should be running over them or something. It's just like, fuck, man.
Okay.
But that song seemed fine.
I defer to you.
As far as bad songs go, you're like, all right. And you listen to it, you're like, that is Vin Diesel. Fucking weird. All right, whatever.
Next email is from Waz. You're on an all-day road trip. It's 3 p.m. and you stopped at a gas station. What snacks are you stocking up on?
None, because I'm not going inside and fucking touching anything.
Well, let's say
getting gas with gloves on and leaving.
In an earlier era,
yeah.
What would you have done?
Yo, it's jerky and energy drinks.
Really?
Yeah, jerky.
That's it.
Jerky
I would throw a jerky in there, but I think I'd have to grab some Doritos or some combos or something.
I'm looking at the rollers. I'm looking to see if they got if they got taquitos, if they got hot dogs. What do we got?
You can't trust a roller from an unnamed gas station.
I can't do a gas station roller.
It's gotta be a name
dog.
brand.
It's just I'm too afraid of it.
No, well, you get yourself like a racetrack or a QT or something. They make quality rollers. Quality.
Okay.
Quality with a Q.
Maybe throw a Snickers on there at the end or something.
Yeah,
why not?
Let's say.
Why not?
Slim Jims are great. Flavored Slim Jims.
Oh God, they're straws. They're disgusting.
Jason, you'll shit your pants out an hour later.
Great, good timing on a road trip. That's
what I want.
Yep. Just keep it actually.
You gotta soil the vehicle. If it is the car rented, then I'm pooping it.
Yeah.
Sorry for having standards.
Yeah. All right, couple more emails here. Except I lost the one I was looking for. Shit. Now I just got to read whatever I can find. How do you all like your steaks cooked? Asks Nick in Sydney, Australia.
Sous vide, medium rare. You sous vide them for like 3 hours.
Well,
or 2
la-di-da.
hours. I know. People la-di-da. It's fucking what it's called.
No,
what
I
do you
know.
want to do?
I also, my medium rare is also my standard order.
We do the reverse sear thing. Sous vide them for like 2 to 3 hours and then throw them on a really hot surface. We got that induction cooker, and that thing gets fucking hot as shit compared to our burners downstairs. So that's how we do it. Salt and pepper, no butter, a little garlic in the bag.
I should not have read this
My
email.
wife does some weird shit where she like bakes it.
Huh.
I don't know how she.
Yeah,
how do you do this steak?
I think like finishing it in the oven, I think is what that's called, right?
That
is the thing.
And she's coming over. She's going to tell us.
Okay.
You can either sear it and then put it in the oven, or
how do you do the steak?
I do a reverse sear.
Yeah.
So I bake it really slow, like you would do like in a water bath kind of thing. But it's in the oven, so like 250, and then I get it to where it's about just a 215 degrees. No, 115 degrees, and then I sear it in a pan, and that brings it up to temp. Yeah. And it's perfect, and it's crispy, fried on the outside.
That's so good.
It's
I'm so hungry.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing we do. We do this exact same thing except sous vide, except instead of the oven, we just put it in the bath of water for a couple hours. It's really great because you don't have to watch it. Just leave it there for a while and just take it out and sear it and slap some butter on it then.
You mean you just set it and forget it?
Yeah.
Wow.
The beauty of sous vide, man.
I usually go medium or medium rare, depending on where I'm at in life at that given moment.
I don't like medium. I mean, honestly, I don't. And you know what? Lately, I've been getting less precious about fucking A1 steak sauce. Just throw some of that on there if you want to.
A1 is a damn good condiment.
It is.
Who gives a shit?
I'll drink that shit straight.
In a fancy restaurant. Like if I'm going to a steak restaurant, I'm taking it the way it comes. I think they know what they're doing. A little A1. Take that thing, slice it up, put it on a sandwich, make a little steak sandwich.
Yeah,
man.
I put A1 on a hamburger for sure, or something like that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Don't mind a little butter maybe on a steak.
Yep. The weird thing,
I don't need the butter. It doesn't. I don't know that it adds much. Let's save it for the bread.
The weird thing for anybody who's big into sous videing, which I know everybody listening to this probably is, apparently don't put butter in the bag with the steak. It reduces the flavor somewhat. Like the salt doesn't quite penetrate the thing. So save the butter for the end when you're searing it.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. It's welcome to Cooking with Rory.
Thanks for having me.
Tuesdays with Rory.
It's great here.
The name of this spot.
Get some of this main event mustard. No.
Go on. Okay. Brandon.
Yes.
Wrote in.
Good.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
VTubers are wrestlers if wrestlers streamed video games instead of wrestled. Basically, it's like if Xavier Woods was 50% more anime, but yeah, they are kayfabe performers, the most popular of whom work for one of the 2 or 3 corporations that don't always appear to do the best job taking care of their talent. On the management side, it seems like it's less that there's any ghoulish Vince McMahon-like figure looming over them and more just a general sense of incompetence. Multiple performers.
So like a Vince McMahon.
Okay, fair. But maybe it sounds like maybe less malicious.
Okay, sure.
Multiple performers at this point have been doxxed, stalked, and harassed, and in each case, it seems like the management hasn't really known how to handle it. They are still, quote, working on hiring mods for stream chats to deal with all the bots and harassers. One of the companies was also recently hit by a large set of copyright claims from Japanese publishers that decimated a lot of their streamers' archives. Turns out that fair use laws out there are different if you're streaming under a corporation rather than independently, so Konami, Nintendo, and Capcom in particular decided it was time for their cut because the management did not have those deals worked out. In terms of what Jeff brought up about the personalities potentially changing behind the scenes, Kizuna Ai in particular has had a few different voice actresses over the years. But typically what happens is a VTuber will graduate, which is a shitty term from the idol industry to sugarcoat when someone quits or gets fired. Some of them you just never hear from again, but there are now multiple examples of a streamer graduating from one company, only for there to be a new streamer that debuts at a different company several months later who sounds oddly similar. Nothing ever gets confirmed, and people don't pry into it too much, but there are definitely a few open secrets out there already. Korone, the dog girl that did the English Mario stream, being one of them. I guess it remains to be seen what would happen post-popularity explosion if they wanted to try and replace a performer. But I think they'd still be more likely to just shut a character down than to have another actor take over. Or maybe I'm a sucker and there have already been 4 Korones and I just haven't noticed.
I wonder, because graduating when you use it in like the idol group sense is usually like they get too old.
Aged out is exactly what that term sounded like to me, for sure.
Yeah. But I guess if you're playing an anime character, maybe that's a different situation. I don't know, man. It's just that the industry side of that stuff seems really gross in a way that I think is fascinating.
Yes. Agreed. It's bizarre. Everything is bizarre.
And I don't think it's like wrestling, like, because a lot of wrestlers, it's like wrestling in that they're playing a role, but like when wrestlers stream video games instead of wrestle, they usually do it out of character. So, or halfway, at least halfway out of character.
Yes.
But we don't need any more anime out of Xavier Woods.
I don't think so.
He's got a fine amount of anime.
Snapchat filter.
As much anime as
did its work
as a person can stand.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Last email. There is an AV component to this email, which I wanted to send to y'all. If you could talk amongst yourselves for just a second. I thought I had it figured out.
All right. Sure.
What do you think he's got cooking up?
Steak, medium rare.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Probably.
Boy, are you going to be
That'd be
disappointed.
my VTube anime avatar, just a big animated steak.
I just want to be a toilet.
Hey man, I once played a hamburger on the internet for a brief period of time.
Yeah.
It can be done. God, I wonder
cat.
I wonder if Face Rig has a toilet in it yet. It really should.
That was a fun day.
It's really that was fun. It's really not hard to turn a toilet into a face.
As it turns out.
When you think about it.
Right.
It's also not hard to turn a face into a toilet.
Yep.
I'm going to get into that one.
That's true.
Your business. That's your business. I'm sorry, this video is not working out here. I'm going to read the email so you know where we're going with this.
I got some videos.
Oh, you want to send me one? I'll just send me a video. I'll just throw it on the stream.
No, I can't. I probably can't.
I'll send you a video of a cat.
Some of that old Times Square.
Oh, wait. Oh, I found it. Yeah. Okay. I hope the audio is not terrible on this. OBS should really let you set audio on a media source before you play it.
I'm
going to send you guys this link. I guess we'll all just watch it together.
Try.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have Slack up because I killed everything.
I don't know if this is probably built up more than it's worth at this point, but that took longer than expected. Tom wrote in about Shelley Duvall's 3DO game.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see this coming when I was...
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, right? I didn't see this coming when I was looking through YouTube late last night. What's your pick for most obscure video game featuring a celebrity? I'm just going to put this on here. I don't know how it's going to look. when she slides into frame, I don't even have
then,
sound on this, and it's
and
just
then undergoes and then becomes a VTuber.
then she becomes a VTuber. I don't even have sound, but this is magical as is.
It's like it got all that good sound that a lot of multimedia CD-ROMs had of the era.
I can hear it without even hearing it.
Yeah, where just the microphone is so shitty that you just hear her going, "Hi,
I'm Shelley Duvall."
Wow, this is nuts.
What is the full name of the game? It's Shelley Duvall's It's a Bird's Life?
Life.
Yes.
I think you might have muted yourself, Jeff. I can't hear you anymore. I don't know.
It's a Bird's Life."
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Shelley
I remember
Duvall's It's a Bird's Life in its entirety is the name of this YouTube video. It is 12 minutes and 44 seconds long. So
Yeah.
that was a short game, apparently.
Yeah.
We used to watch a bunch of Shelley Duvall's. She used to do a bunch of like adaptations of like fables or myths on
what's it called? That's called something. That's a show. That's with other
We had-
celebrities and stuff in it, right?
yeah. We had not laser discs, but the other big format disc-based video system from the early '80s. Does anybody remember what I'm talking about?
It's like fairy tale
Yeah,
theater. Is that what
but
it
they were
is?
called
fairy tale theater.
CEDs, capacitive electronic
yes.
discs. Yeah, we used to have a bunch of those.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Shelley Duvall was olive oil in Popeye, right?
That sounds right.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
I believe yes, that is the case.
And in The Shining.
God,
Yes.
I'm trying to think. I mean, you know,
She was olive oil in The Shining, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
You got it. I mean, you know, the question was, what's our pick for obscure video games featuring celebrities? Like 3DO was like a hotbed of that shit, right? Like
Kind of.
like Kirk Cameron was in The Horde.
Yep, he was.
And Tia Carrera had a game, which was what was
Daedalus
it?
Encounter.
Daedalus Encounter.
Yeah.
There's that game with David Bowie in it. Dennis Hopper was in that game called Hell.
Right, hell, right.
That was a really good one.
Let's see, what else was going on back then? Who else slummed it for an afternoon?
Oh man, this is the future. You got to get in on this.
That's right.
I mean, all the Command and Conquer stuff, like Ric Flair and
Right. Yeah, that was a magical time.
There was some shit.
Let's see.
There was some shit out there for sure.
I mean, Fatty Bear was in Fatty
Fatty
Bear's
Bear.
Fun Pack and Fatty Bear's Birthday Surprise.
That's right.
There's a whole.
Putt Putt
Yeah. Oh yeah. Putt Putt did
Putt-
some
Putt
some
Putt,
real
both-
grimy stuff.
both held a parade and went to the moon.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's true.
yeah.
You can buy those actually. They're on Steam.
What didn't Sega
Yeah,
CD
they are.
get? Sega CD and TurboGrafx didn't really get any of that shit. It was like 3DO was just like rotten with.
And CDI, you know,
Shitty
like because that's where
celebrity
just
games.
like and PC and Mac, it was like QuickTime came out and Macromedia Director came out, and then suddenly the market was flooded with the worst CD-ROMs you could ever imagine.
Yes.
And it's a glorious time to revisit. There's a lot of really horrendous shit out there.
I bet. How's the 3DO emulation scene these days?
It's pretty all right.
Is it? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I should maybe check that out at some point.
Yeah.
There's nothing worth playing on a 3DO, but you know. Apparently, Eric Idle was in Discworld. I'm told.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
Right.
good one. It's a pretty good
Yeah.
one. Somebody here says Corey Haim was in something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
a lot of garbage out there for sure. All right, that's it for emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com. Yeah. How's everybody's Windows status? Jason?
I've closed my window as the air quality has worsened, and it is so hot in this room.
Yep.
We
Gotta
bought.
open it back up.
This is where we're at as a society. We bought some of those like heat blanket / shield. You know, the shiny like blanket kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about? The emergency blanket.
Yep.
Tacked them up over the windows yesterday.
Yeah.
It was exactly.
Wow.
It was fucking
hot
like
as shit
90
yesterday.
degrees outside, and we can't open the windows because of the smoke. So it's like, let's just try to reflect the sunlight back out of the windows.
Yeah.
Try to keep.
I've seen you see those a lot in like RVs that are broken down on the side of the road or cars that people are living in. They got those heat reflectors. So
Yes. Yeah. It's good times. So
before we call it a day, I'm gonna be
Green. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You're
Thumbs
good.
up. Thumbs up from Jason.
I'm going to be streaming some Spelunky in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Still planning on doing that around 4. So if you're watching this live, if you're not watching it live, I'll try to put that archive up tonight. Nothing crazy. Again, it was supposed to be community co-op corner, but I can't do it because the online's broken. So
the co-op corner is there's a sideshow happening on that corner right now. You cannot get there from here.
Don't get in the way of the
corners
sideshow.
work. There are corners in that game, but there's no community or co-op at this point. So yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening then. We'll have some stuff going on later in the week as usual. Stay tuned to the websites. And we'll see you back here next week. Another Giant Bombcast coming at you. Thanks for listening.